Bonfire Banter election special. We are so very excited to have this panel here tonight. We even got custom tiki torches made tonight for the election episode. And we, had such a budget that we went from 2 tikis to 4 tiki torches.
Hey.
So, it's like crazy, the improvements we're making every week. But we got Mike DeGraff coming back. He was on one of our very first episodes. He never actually had the chance to sign the act, so tonight we'll be able to do that, which is fantastic. Nice. Cody Golz has been a fan for a little while now. He's finally jumping on the panel for us.
Right. It's an honor. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming out.
I appreciate it. My pleasure.
And then we have Darlene Peacock. This is my wonderful mother. Thank you so much for jumping on the panel. This is right up your alley.
They forced me.
Yeah. Well, you talk about this stuff a lot on Facebook, so, this is kind of why we started the page in the first place.
These conversations.
Absolutely.
The fun thing about this episode tonight is the very first thing we tried to do back in May was get an election-type episode. And it was Mike here and my uncle Daryl, and they were sitting down. We were calling it The Cage, and it was supposed to be very debate style, and we were going to give you guys certain amount of time. And then it shifted into this. And then we did a bunch of episodes that weren't very political, and we kind of jumped all around on topics, and now we're back to the politics. So I'm very excited about this episode tonight because this is kind of where it all started, was about these kinds of things. So the first thing I'd like to ask you guys is the debate. This most recent one was on Thursday night. And Cody, I'm going to go to you first. Right. What do you feel like went better for the whole viewing process in this one? Because the first one kind of seemed like a lot of talking over everyone.
That's right.
Yeah. How did you view this one?
Well, the last one, unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of substance to get to.
Yeah.
So from the standpoint of an independent voter, or an undecided voter, excuse me, this one was much more informational. Okay. You were really able to kind of read each person a little bit better. And the last one, there was a lot of talking over each other. And I have to admit that I lean more towards the right. I'm more of a Trump fan than anything else. So I was a little bit embarrassed myself at the first debate. I was like, what the hell, just shut up, Trump type thing. And this one, I was really happy that he kind of composed himself a lot better, but more so just happy that it was a projection on both sides of just getting to hear them speak without the interruption. So like as an undecided voter, thinking of it as that perspective, being able to really hear what each person had to say, which was nice.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for, right? We like to believe that the guys that are running our country and the guy that could potentially run the country can at least sit down and talk with somebody.
That's right.
Because that's part of their job, right?
Cordial, be cordial. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, we did get to hear them this time, but how many questions were really answered was my problem with this
we did
debate.
watch it together, and me and my mother were kind of saying, like, we were getting mad. We were pausing it every
10
5 minutes.
minutes we paused the debate.
Sure.
Because they weren't answering the questions. They were just like, they do their normal thing where they ask them a question, and then they're like, it was like, oh, what are you going to do moving forward? What's your plan, moving forward with coronavirus?
There was a lot of substance. There was a lot of details.
He just talked about what he's done with it. It was like, what do you want to do going forward? And it was like, I was waiting for him to be like, okay, what is going on? What's
the next
going
steps
forward?
Right.
And he just went back to everything he's done, which is, I agree. I think that he did jump on it when he should have. I think he did put, the travel ban to China on at the proper time.
Right.
I think maybe he could have done a national mask mandate or something like that faster.
Well, it's always easier to say, from the outside. You should have, it's the Monday morning quarterback.
Yeah.
You should have done this, you should have done that.
Yeah.
But until you're in that situation,
it's hard.
It's hard, right?
But we
what's going to happen.
Find out that he knew a lot earlier than he let on. And under the guise of not wanting to panic the people, which I get to
There's
a
little
certain
bit
extent,
of that, yeah.
But we did just find out he knew earlier than we thought. So he could have done a little more in the beginning if he believed it.
There was a serious problem, yeah.
He really didn't believe it, and I think we can all agree he did not believe it. He said he didn't believe it.
Yeah.
By Easter, we were going to be back to normal.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Let's have Mike go here for a second.
Yeah, but I think if you ask most people, the fact that we have a 99.9% survival rate for most people, 99% generally, at least. Looking at that and then looking at kind of how hard it was to juggle it. He shut down China travel on the 31st of January.
Yep.
I mean, how much earlier could he have known anything to do anything faster than that? And
I mean, not to mention he was criticized by the other
racist.
side, specifically Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden, that he was xenophobic for doing that. Nancy Pelosi was in Chinatown saying, "Hey,
ride the
we're
subway.
out here,
Take the
come
subway."
out, let's have a good time."
That was a march. Yeah.
And I mean, Anthony Fauci, he's on video saying, you don't need to wear a mask. Save those for the people on the front line. But that just says something to the fact that nobody really knew what we were dealing with at that time.
But one thing we have always known is that masks don't work, like they say they do.
Well, hey, I mean,
it's not me
elaborate.
saying it.
Let him elaborate on that. So, in what sense don't masks work?
The CDC has never ever recommended that healthy people wear masks because they stop sick people from spreading germs.
Healthy people. So healthy people
wearing masks
But
don't make any sense.
isn't the hard part of this is that you can have it and be passing it before you ever show symptoms.
Sure.
So by everyone wearing a mask, you're just saying, I don't know if I'm sick, but I could be
Are
sick.
you changing your mask every 20 minutes?
No, you have to have the right kind of mask. You need to be washing them all the time, but it can actually make you sick. I mean, just having
and you're
mildew
touching
and build
it
up.
more often. You're touching your face more often, adjusting the
adjusting
mask.
it.
Yeah,
But that's a case-by-case basis. You know what I mean? Like, some people are adhering to the proper protocols.
Yeah.
Maybe some people are not in terms of washing the mask, which is something that I'm guilty of myself. But that's because I don't have anybody personally to me that has had it.
Yeah.
So to me, it's not that serious because I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But I know I've heard of people who have their brother-in-law who's on a ventilator for 3 months and has to learn how to walk again.
Yeah.
So it's a case-by-case basis,
Because I did have it, by the way.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I had it in early August.
And tell us about it, how you how you felt.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I only got tested because my significant other, Sammy, over there, did get tested positive. My mother was coming in town.
Sure.
She was a little worried, and I wanted to be able to hang out with her still, even if Sammy could be quarantined.
You have a child. You have a child, too.
Yeah, and and kids, I wasn't as worried about Olivia because I think she's the one that gave it to us, to be honest with you. But, so, we get it, and I got the test because she was coming in town, but I hadn't felt any symptoms at that point.
Right.
I felt nothing.
How did you feel? Was it you felt completely normal?
Going in, I had no symptoms. I felt completely normal.
Okay.
I got tested positive. 2 days later, I felt really tired.
Yeah.
And I have a bad back in general and bad ankles. Mm-hmm. And they felt like they were both at the same time feeling their worst they felt in a long time.
Right.
So my joints and stuff just felt really sore and just crazy tired. But I tell people had I not gotten tested, I felt that sick before and gone to work.
Sure.
Had I not gotten tested because my mom was coming in, I would have just toughed it out and been like, I must have done something. I must have slept wrong.
It's the weather. Whatever.
Everything's hurting. I'm a little tired, but I got pushed through. I'll drink a Red Bull and let's go.
There you go.
And I would have still went to work without ever stopping.
Right.
So that is the danger in my mind is that I only felt 2 days of symptoms, which are not the symptoms that everyone necessarily. I never had a fever. Never had any chest tightness. So just testing someone's fever and letting them in somewhere, even in my personal experience, isn't good.
That's a good point.
Doesn't mean anything.
That's a great point. Yeah.
So you can still be spreading it around and not have any fever.
Right. So the small little shield that we do have,
sure,
maybe it's 10%, but 10% helps. And let me just give you this little. I'm just gonna ask because you specifically said masks don't do anything, right? So
I didn't say
masks don't work.
They don't work. I didn't say they didn't do anything.
They
not working.
They don't work for stopping the spread of a pandemic.
You don't think they slow the spread?
I didn't see any evidence that they do. No.
100%.
See no evidence that they do. Actually,
just using common sense, so you wouldn't think to spray when you're talking to someone.
Let me give you a good analogy.
I'm saying there's a study.
Why do we teach people, especially our children, right? Mm-hmm. Why do we always say sneeze here, sneeze here? Why do we do that?
Well, keep it on your
why
hands.
Not just go achoo?
Yeah,
and chew yourself all over everybody.
But if
you don't, because this helps.
A
mask helps more.
If you have it, I can see if you have it, it does. But
right.
Me going into Walmart without having it doesn't help anybody.
You don't know that you have it or not.
Well, that's Justin's point.
Okay, but that also is the problem with you have an invisible enemy and you say, do this because you don't know if you have it. There's a social engineering thing more so than there is a stop a pandemic thing because.
It's slowing the spread. It's not stopping the pandemic.
Well, the seasonal
definitely
flu
won't stop.
Slowing the
spread. That's for sure.
But the seasonal flu is so much more dangerous to high school age people than coronavirus is. Well, and we're shutting schools down for this.
Doesn't matter what.
It's political.
Listen, we want to help everyone, right? Doesn't matter what.
I just think
I think he's saying more so though. You're shutting we've never even considered shutting down a school for flu season before.
Well,
never even
understandable.
considered it.
Right, which is
But that's
comparable.
not, is it
I think,
understandable?
is his
Is it
point,
understandable?
yeah.
If it's more dangerous, how is it
But
understandable?
the flu has not killed as many people in as short amount of time as this has, or else. Listen.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
Explore-
That's,
No, how
that
many-
could
how
be
many
true.
people-
I'm not sure.
how many people has how many people has coronavirus killed?
What's that?
How many people have died from coronavirus?
220,000,
220,000
No,
people.
that's how many people died with it. How many people died from
Yeah.
it?
That's actually
I
another
mean, not
true
to,
stat.
not to
because they're-
mention it could be.
How- we
it
don't-
could
we have
be
no idea how many
possibly
people were killed from
skewed
COVID-19.
because
Nobody.
there was
No chance.
reports
But
that
it
they were
doesn't-
naming
Hang on.
coronavirus for whenever anybody was dying, they were calling it coronavirus even if they didn't have symptoms. I don't know if that's true.
And again, I think
I'm-
a lot of
I'm-
that's hearsay, and a
I'm
lot of
repeating
it's,
what I've
Yes,
heard, so that's
absolutely.
where that comes from.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I'm
so-
happy you prefaced it that way because
Yes.
a lot of us hear a lot of things on Facebook.
And if I can comment on that, because it's actually something I know about pretty well.
Okay, yeah. So you know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
So
yeah.
the CDC did order doctors and instruct doctors to, you can use COVID as the cause of death without a positive test.
Well, not to mention, you have to I like to hear all sides. So
Yeah.
the people who are spitting conspiracy theories, I like to hear that side.
Yeah.
So you
I think
could
you need
like
to.
what
agree.
they argue is that hey, they're naming like everything. The deaths because of coronavirus, maybe because that helps the funding to them, or
the
maybe
hospitals did get funded
That's
per.
true.
Yeah, you
per
that. I mean,
person
that could
with-
be. I don't know.
And
but-
as a hospital, if you're running a hospital
knows that.
and you just got shut down all of your election or what's the word, non-necessary surgeries. What's the word? Voluntary surgeries, basically.
Okay.
If you're shutting down
Electives.
all of those, elective surgeries. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. If you're shutting down all those because everyone's scared to go to the hospital, all of a sudden you have a cash flow problem.
Sure,
You know what I'm saying?
exactly.
So then you're getting
Yes.
incentivized
Subsidize.
to
That's
then
right.
You're
tell
getting
people
money.
that they got
Right.
COVID.
That's
It does
right.
make sense.
Why are
if-
they pushing the census so much?
because if you don't, then you don't have that money. Guess
That's
who you
right.
got to fire? Your friends and the people you work with every day. You
That's
got to
right. Who have
furlough them and
families
let them
and
go.
Yeah, that's so true.
so that's
where
a tough
I'm coming
position to be in.
Right, and that's where I'm coming from with that.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying that
No.
that's true.
Yeah.
Because I don't have anything to prove that. But
No,
you could.
I agree.
Assumptions are a big thing when we don't have all the facts. So that's an assumption that people could easily come to.
But then
You know what
I
I
don't know,
mean?
it comes down to what's an essential business or an essential surgery. Because where the politics come in is when you see somebody who's trying to be level-headed and rational, and they say, "Okay, so I can't go get my cavity filled, but I can go get an abortion and I can go buy pot."
Well, that right,
Real pipe.
right.
so we
right.
have to wonder. It's like, so I can go to the pot store,
Yeah.
packed in a basement with 60 people in it.
Sure.
Well,
During-
God,
during-
what
during the
pot store
peak-
are
I
you
was gonna
going
say that
to?
sounds like a terrible pot store.
No, I'm saying this is
Mike,
when.
Mike, we're
Wait.
talking about real
Wait,
legal
no,
ones.
no,
We're
I'm
not
saying-
talking
no,
about
no,
anybody's
no.
basement.
He was going to my cousin, my second cousin.
well,
Hey,
down the
hey, all right,
street.
let him get to this point.
I'm saying,
sorry.
so when we're at the peak of COVID
Yeah.
in the middle of the shutdown, they did not close the dispensaries.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Well,
they
that's
were
a
trying to-
medical.
they were
It's
running-
also
trying to-
medical marijuana for people, so that's essential
Okay,
to some people.
So
That's
pot's
why they
essential,
could
but me
remain
getting a
open.
cavity filled is essential.
Yeah, no.
I viewed
I'm
it
saying,
as
I'm saying if everything's being equal, it's a money grab from the state,
sure,
and it's political to have abortion clinics open. There's nothing about it that's not political.
sure.
So
sure.
it's when you take something that you're scaring
But some
people
abortions
into
are necessary, and that's why they were able
almost
to
none,
remain
almost
open.
none, almost none, which is like the
That's
big thing
not
with abortion. It's
true.
like always the
That's
argument.
not true.
Not all. He's saying
I'm
not.
saying just about none are
Some
essential.
some are of
Yes.
necessity.
Yeah, no, those are. But what he's saying is, of the stats of how many are because of necessity, the percentage
Right.
basis.
My
is
point
very
is,
low.
Sure.
the percentage doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's the same as
No.
weed
Well, no.
because it was medical marijuana.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It's deemed
Yes.
essential business.
Exactly.
Right.
And-
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
it's just well, I'm looking at the fact that I live in a state that we're back in shutdown, shutting restaurants down.
Right.
When there's no chance we need to be doing that. It's like I'm just saying how fake this whole thing is. And
Well, actually,
when I say fake, I don't mean fake like you don't get sick from
Like
COVID-19.
it's not a
or
real
Sure,
virus.
coronavirus isn't
You're
a
not
thing.
saying that
Kids
there's
are-
no
I'm saying,
coronavirus.
I'm,
Yeah.
say, I'm saying it in the way Donald Trump said it.
Yes.
When he said that this is the next Democratic hoax. Is that
Well,
the
that's your
coverage
first problem.
being so wall to wall and scaring me into sitting in my house for months.
Yeah.
Well,
That's not about anything but politics.
Well,
it's not about my safety.
they're playing politics. For example, in Michigan, I forget she's a lady governor, which is
Wow.
means nothing.
That's
no, no, no.
Gretchen Whitmer.
Yeah,
Just
Gretchen
put
Whitmer.
the
But
name up, they
what
scratch.
I was getting to is that the Supreme Court of Michigan overruled her closing measures that she had because they claimed it unconstitutional.
Well, the
and
Republican.
what the
It is,
Republicans are arguing is that she was purposely doing this for political reasons, shutting down the state until after the election in order to make Trump look bad because he had such a high economy. And this is the thing that they can really latch onto to say, look what's happening under Trump's America.
Yeah.
People are dying. The economy's crashing, right? And they prolong their
But
closure of their state.
Hang on, before I know she wants to go there, and
please,
I want to
please,
hear.
sorry.
I want to hear her point of view on this because is it actually a resident of Michigan?
Please, yes.
The UP, which is like
And
its
I'm
own
in the
state,
Upper
really.
Peninsula, which
But yeah,
because of all this, and I tell store owners that I run into, because I still go into little stores and I take trips, and
Sure.
you know, I just talked to a lady, a little store, little gift shop, and they're still going strong because she's a staunch Trump supporter. But I told her the one thing that I've learned about Michigan through this whole thing, they really do need to be their own state in the UP.
oh, the UP
Because
and
the
Lower
Upper
Michigan are.
Peninsula is so rural
Yeah.
compared to Detroit. It's
Sure.
like our auto insurance rates are the highest in the country in the UP.
Yeah.
I moved there. I was like, oh, you've got to be kidding me how much I pay. I pay $200 a month for auto insurance.
Well, that,
As
I think that's where
and
a
you're
lot
not
of-
18-year-old driver or something like
because
that.
there's
Yeah.
so much fraud in the state of Michigan, but it's all in the city.
yeah.
Isn't
It shouldn't affect
Democratic-run
us.
city?
Every
That's
Democratic
my
city is-
thing is,
What?
it's a Democratic-run city. There's a Democratic mayor,
Right.
Democratic governor,
Right.
and all these where they're having these riots and these problems and the rise of these coronavirus cases. Isn't these Democratic-run states?
But the one thing I do like to say to that, though, is that most Democratic states are Democratic states because of this city and because you're going to get
Diversity.
diversity. And if you're going to have higher numbers,
But-
it's going to be in big cities where everyone's
but
closely
what's-
living next to each
But
other,
what's-
and closely
I
populated.
need one principle from the Democratic Party that says they're the party of diversity.
Well,
Oh, I'm not
What?
saying. I'm
What?
not saying
I
none of
didn't
that.
hear that.
He's
Like, I
saying-
was wondering how diversity makes you a Democratic-run state, or how it plays into it at all. Doesn't
well,
make any
just
sense.
how the votes usually come in.
I know,
mean,
but that's the problem, though. Is why
Well, you're
I
more
agree. I'm not
diverse.
saying
Doesn't
I
make
understand why those
More
votes come in the
diverse.
way they
Well,
do,
there-
but every big city like that, LA,
Right.
New York, Chicago, most
Right.
other than Houston, maybe they're all Democrats.
You have more
I mean, it's
minorities.
always
You
blue
have more
states, and
women.
they're always.
Where I live, you go to a bar on a Friday night, there are 30 men and 2 women.
You can say
So
white
where
men
I
too.
live,
30 white guys.
I'm just saying, and
Yeah.
that's fine. Yes, it's
I don't know,
predominantly
I
white.
don't think it matters what color anybody
But
is. I just think
I think it does.
Agreed, but I'm just saying across the board, cities are more diverse. And
But
you're
it's fine.
gonna
So
get,
how does diversity turn into it's a 95%
because
of
I'm
blacks vote
sorry,
for Democrat?
leans Democratic.
I know, but you have to ask yourself why.
Typically, yeah.
I'm asking what's the reason for
well,
it.
No,
wait,
he
wait,
does
wait,
not
wait,
understand
wait.
it. He agrees
I'm
that
saying
it is that way.
The
He's
Democratic
saying
Party
why.
has not done anything to help anybody for the last 30 years.
Well,
So I'm trying to figure out what
false
it- where is it?
promises. It's full of false
Yeah.
promises, and a lot of people are starting to recognize
It's
that.
here's a bunch of free shit. Vote for me.
That's right.
You can come in the country with citizenship. Vote for me. That's what it all.
Well, no,
and,
we'll
and
give
then
you
nobody
this
gets
and
anything.
we'll give you that. I mean, if you watch a video, there is a video of Joe Biden saying, I can guarantee you in our administration we will cure cancer. There's a true video of that.
Yeah.
And that what I'm trying to get to is just speaking to the fact that they have these false promises. I mean, it's like in middle school. If you want vote for me, we'll have birthday,
Justin
we'll have
knows.
cake on the
Yeah.
on the lunch menu.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's the false
Yeah,
promises
absolutely.
to get these people to vote
Well,
for you. And the black community is starting to move towards the Trump vote, as well as the Latino community, or Latino, whatever,
Yeah.
that we were
True.
talking about previously, because they're starting to wake up to the fact that Obama was president and he didn't do shit. Excuse me.
No,
He
you
didn't
can.
do-
You can.
he
Hey,
didn't-
let it fly,
Right,
brother.
He didn't do shit for
Yeah,
us, right?
yeah.
Chicago. He's from Chicago. Obama's from
Yeah.
Chicago, and nothing got better in Chicago. And Trump comes in and he says, "What do you got to lose voting for me?" What a lot of people say is, "Why? Like that's racist." Blah blah blah. Whatever, right? And then the under his administration, before coronavirus hit, you got the lowest numbers in black unemployment, Hispanic unemployment, women unemployment, the highest or the lowest numbers, I should say.
Yeah.
So and everybody's thriving. The economy's thriving. That he had better numbers in the GDP
Wages increased, yep.
than economists, professional economists, had predicted. So I mean, how can you? The numbers don't lie.
Yeah, well,
is what I'm
they
getting to.
said you're dreaming at 3% GDP growth.
That's
and
right.
we're at
What was it?
3.4%
3.2,
year one.
3.4, whatever it
So,
was.
I mean, we're
right.
talking.
The
it's-
one thing that I do like to say though is also is like, and every president is given an economy in a certain state, you know.
Sure.
And President Trump was definitely given the economy on the upswing. You're in 2008 when Obama
but-
got elected. We were in a straight up recession. We were in a terrible spot.
Well, you can directly
Directly-
tie the changes in regulation that Donald Trump and his administration made.
Well, because
to
there was
the-
with regulations, there was a
But
But I'm not
It's
saying it was on a I'm not saying it was a downward trend
It was
though,
a
and he
growing
came into office and
economy.
went.
Well, I know, but it can't
He
do anything but
inherited
grow.
a growing
Yeah.
economy.
When you do what you do, they
Well,
had
when
they
you're
had the
in such a
slowest growth in the
depression-
history of the country.
When
Say
you're
again? Hang on,
sorry,
It was the slowest growth in the history of the country from any kind
That's
of recession.
exactly
the
right.
slowest growth.
Like it was.
yes,
Okay.
it was.
It was.
I'm just saying I don't know the
no,
answer to
that's
that
exactly
question.
right.
You can't do both things at once. You can't say we're going to strengthen the welfare state and also strengthen our economy and our business class. You can't do it. So when I see people go into the ballot box and they hear people talking and talk to people personally, it's everybody talks about one issue voter or two issue voter. There's one party that is going to make you pay less to live here. That alone gets a lot of people to say, okay, well,
Yeah.
I want to pay less in taxes. It's all I can control.
Yeah.
So it's like when you said the UP should be its own state. It's the difference to me between Republicans and Democrats are Republicans are about the states and Democrats are about federal
More power
government.
to the states and more
So
power to the government.
It's like
That's
so
right.
when I
Yeah.
see
Libertarian Party people.
what's that? Well,
And that's what's funny is a lot of people will hear my mom talk and just assume that she's a Democrat and assume she's voting for Biden. She's really not. She actually will play devil's advocate a lot of times with a lot of that, and she more so leans like libertarian and
Which
more
is the
down
middle,
the
kind of the middle ground. That's
well,
right. Yeah.
So I see.
I'm all about the government staying out of my life.
Okay, exactly. So
unless I'm a criminal.
Yeah. So it's like if you look
Okay.
at the political spectrum, there's authoritarian,
And me
libertarian, opposite
smoking
sides.
weed is not criminal, and it never should
Yeah,
have
for
been.
sure, for
And,
sure.
You know, let's talk about the impact of that on minorities.
Well,
Well,
About
let's let
the
him finish his
Bill
thought.
and
Let's
Joe
let Mike
Biden.
finish his thought here.
Sure.
So
He was trying to get through here.
I look at authoritarian, the libertarian as the spectrum. So obviously authoritarian being like it's more or less you do what we say
Yeah.
or else. And
Kim Jong-un.
and libertarian is just it's the non-aggression principle. It's as long as you're not hurting anybody else. Yeah, so
Okay.
as long as you're not hurting anybody else, and it's a transaction between two willing people, you can't get in the way.
Okay.
Gotcha.
It's almost like the opposite of government in a way.
Yeah.
When I look at it, true libertarianism. So when I look at it, I look at Democratic Party, Democratic leadership, and I see Mayor Lightfoot in Chicago, and I see them say, "We're going to come to you, we're going to take you down or bring you to jail and all this stuff, and we're going to shut down parties." And
Yeah.
I want somebody to tell me. I don't want anybody to tell me what I can't do. That's your
Right.
job.
Yeah.
My job is to tell you what you can't do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've elected
So-
you. for
Yes,
that.
so
Yeah.
exactly.
I
Well,
want
we
you to
literally
do.
pay their salary.
Yes.
So, I mean, yeah.
I want the people that are going to say you're going to take as little of my money as possible, and you're going to take away as few of the rights as I want you to take.
Yeah.
I want to be able to say what I want without being censored. I want to be able to have a gun without being bullshit or called a neo-Nazi or a future Timothy McVeigh. Like, I want to live in a place where it's
So
not.
you're a libertarian.
Well, no, there are places for government. Obviously, I think the government
Yeah.
has a job to protect people, schools. I think there
Sure.
is a place where government has its place, but it's stay out of my
Minimal.
pocketbook and stop taking my rights away because my
Right.
rights are there.
Yeah.
Like, big thing for me is the Constitution was written as a document to say God gave you these rights
Yeah. Darren.
and we cannot take them.
Yes.
That's right.
So when I see somebody talking
Unalienable
about
rights.
any article of the Constitution or any Bill of Rights or anything, you can't tell me what I can say or not. Just because you're a tech company doesn't mean you can say it. Or
Yeah.
Just because.
Would you agree?
But that's their platform. I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
Would you agree that the Constitution inevitably needs amendments to it
Oof.
as time passes? That's just
Which it
just a
does.
question
That-
for you.
Because
it's built
things
for
like
that.
Would you
social
agree
media
with
and stuff
that?
like
People
that.
argue
Yeah.
that.
That's a.
Well, that's just a. I was just just to create.
I mean,
a
every document's
conversation.
made to be amended. It goes from amending it to adding something
Progress.
or
for.
deleting something.
But that's the thing. Deleting something is
Is
the problem.
dangerous.
That's
Yeah.
right. Well, they were created specifically
the
to
problem.
protect us.
Yes.
Right, so
From the
deleting
government.
something is
Adding something, I think, is
frightening.
okay. Deleting
Yeah.
something, probably not. I
That's
think
right.
is the
Well,
Sure.
it's about just. there-
Maybe altering the verbiage
Right. 'cause-
maybe in order,
Sure.
Yeah, but
but
it just,
not
it's
deleting.
I mean, it's a
Right.
slippery
Not
slope.
taking
It's-
away.
It is a slippery slope because either way that the verbiage changes, it will be slightly one way or the other.
because
Doing
not
that-
necessarily.
Well,
Unless
not
it's voted
necessarily.
upon. Unless it's voted upon in a democratic system.
Unless it feels like right now that we've progressed that some of them lean one way, and that's why we want to amend it, right?
I mean,
Sure.
Like-
well, not one party is going to get to decide that. I mean, that's something that's
No.
going to be voted
Again,
upon in the
yeah.
democratic
I'll say-
system, where everyone's going to have a say, and
Yeah.
the largest majority is going to decide the
That's
outcome.
the thing. How much do you guys really feel like you impact any type of change in anything?
I
you want?
understand it, but
This
I
drives me
hate.
crazy.
I really, if you don't mind me taking a second here.
Go, yeah.
It bothers me when I understand how people can feel that way. My buddy's the same way. He says, Cody, why do you care about politics? Your vote doesn't matter. And that bothers the hell out of me. Because if everybody had that mindset,
Then you're screwed.
we'd be screwed.
Then
It's
you're
just like
screwed.
recycling. You say, why would I recycle? Because nobody else recycles, it's not going to make a difference. That's the problem with recycling.
Yeah.
Or because everybody thinks that what they do is not going to make a make a difference. If everybody thought my vote matters, my vote counts, is
You
going to
get
make a difference,
100% turnout.
We'd be
Yeah.
it would be great.
Yeah.
But it's so, and I understand that because that's what it makes us feel like, is
Yes.
that our vote doesn't really matter. Like, if I don't vote, is that going to make a big difference? If
Yeah.
everybody had that mindset, it would screw us. So
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, but that specifically
should
my
bother
buddy,
you.
Yeah.
it bothers me that that some people
It
would
should.
think
I
that,
don't feel
hey,
that way.
there's no reason I should do this because
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Like,
Yeah.
that's the problem.
Yeah, and I'll
is,
say,
you
know?
there's
Right.
one thing that I remember thinking was everybody talks about how the Republicans are the party of the rich. I'm sure everybody's heard that.
Which is
Yeah.
the opposite of my
And the-
opinion,
and
but
the
go on,
Democrats are
yeah.
the party of the poor.
Sure.
But my problem is when I was thinking about that one day, and again, I voted for Barack Obama. I was a
Yeah.
big
Okay.
Obama fan.
So did I.
Early on, yeah.
So did I.
And I remember thinking to myself one day was that, why would I want to vote for the party who's dependent on me being poor to get my vote?
Sure.
It's kind of true.
So if the party of the
Yeah.
rich get the votes from the rich, then they're incentivized to make me rich.
Sure.
So why would I want to stay poor?
Sure.
That's
So,
a good thought.
so I remember somebody
It
said to
isn't
me,
I never thought about it that
it
way.
was, a long,
interesting,
it was
yeah.
a long time ago to me, was you have to vote for what you want to be,
Yep.
not for who you are.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
Dress for the job you want, kind
Yeah,
of.
well,
thing.
That's
to-
right.
Because
There you
our
go.
system
That's
isn't
right.
built for fast emotional change. It's built for gridlock.
Great
Sure.
statement, but then
Yes.
I also
Yeah.
want the person I vote for to represent my values, my ethics,
Morals,
my
your
morals,
And you're
never gonna
which
find-
Trump does
And,
not.
and,
do
and with a
for
two-party
me
system,
at
the
all.
issue, the two-party system, the issue is
That's
you're
right.
never going to line up. You're never going to feel great about everything one
That's
candidate
right.
feels.
I'm not
That's
very
right.
rarely.
That's
No,
right.
we're not talking about record or. I'm literally talking about
Just how
who
they-
you are as a person.
Yeah,
Yeah,
how they make you
sure.
feel
Which-
emotionally.
sure,
like,
which-
like you were
sure.
saying, I think the other day we were
You don't
talking.
like a
you were
guy, you
saying,
can't
like,
argue just not liking somebody's
It's not
character.
about
Well, that's what a
liking.
lot
Oh
of
no, but I
people
mean, like
vote-
if it's
Hang on.
No, you go on.
if you don't feel like somebody's character matches your values,
You can't
Yeah.
connect
They
it.
don't
their
represent the
their
character I
actions
think our
in
country
government, I
should
can see
portray.
that being a hard thing to overcome.
But that's one of the also the problems is a lot of people vote based off of morals and values when
Well,
it
it's gotta
comes
be both.
which I agree with, but what it comes down to is that you might not agree with Trump's what he says or the way he
Presents
behaves
himself,
himself on Twitter and things like that, but the bottom line is the numbers line up with the best interests of us, the middle class, the silent majority. Our taxes were lowered so that we could have more money to spend on our family
Yeah.
to stimulate the economy and things like that. And then I kind of forget where I was going with that, but a lot of what I heard the other day was that a lot of people vote based off of those emotions, how they connect with or resonate
Yeah.
with the people, because a lot of people, I would say almost the majority of people, don't know
Yeah,
the
they don't.
statistics or
They
the politics, so
don't.
they
That's the
watch that
biggest
debate
problem.
and they say
go,
Trump
who makes
is,
me feel better?
That's
That's
right.
why we're doing this, right?
Yeah.
This is what more people should be doing.
Well, that's
Yes.
what the Democrats
Sitting
have
around
baited off
having
of.
these-
Let her go.
Yeah.
Well, I just posted this on my Facebook the
Yeah.
other day, and this makes complete sense.
I
and
told
say
my
it all the
customer
time.
about this quote, so
right?
say it.
Hey
It's a
guys,
great quote.
Hey guys, let's come back to that on the next one.
Okay, well, we're going to start the
gonna
next
take a
segment
break.
with that
With
then.
that.
Okay?
I love
Great.
that
All right,
quote.
sounds
Don't let me
good.
forget. I'll forget.
Yeah, well,
so.
we're not going to
Boom,
forget. We'll
bang.
see you back in just a second.
Frank.
Bonfire Banter, right
All
back
right.
at you. And we're back. Segment 2 here. Darlene, I think we left off with you saying that, you had a quote for us. And before you get to it, and as you're saying it, we're going to get the axe starting to pass around here.
Oh Lord.
So be careful. There's no guard.
Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna hurt myself.
Well, don't.
Don't. Just don't.
Try not
Okay.
to.
All right, tell us about the X. What's his name?
So I don't know what is its name, Robert. Oh, Axl Rose. That was the first one. Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah. Yeah, Axl Rose for
I
sure.
think I heard of that guy.
And then as we fill these things up, we're going to start to get new handles, and they're going to go into the Bonfire Banter Hall of Fame, obviously. But here you go, Cody. Be very careful.
Yes, sir.
There you go.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, Mom, get to your quote here. You're going to have to multitask in a second, but
Well, what we were talking about was the statement that I posted on Facebook, which basically said, all of us have always been taught, like, oh, yeah, you're at the bar, right? And everybody around you start talking about politics. And what does everybody say? They go, oh, we don't talk about politics and religion in the bar.
yeah.
And I'm going, well, what the hell else
Yeah.
do we talk about, right? And so the statement's made,
Pass it to her.
maybe instead of being taught, we don't talk about politics and religion around the dinner table, in the bar, anywhere for that matter.
Yeah.
Where was it okay to talk about
Yeah.
it? Maybe we should have been teaching people to have these conversations.
Yeah.
What the hell else are you talking about?
No, honestly, I think that's a great thing because families should be talking about these things, and you should be able to have a conversation with someone that you side on different sides of the aisle, and be able to have a reasonable conversation with family members. And if it gets heated, that's fine. You're still going
Or
to
a
love each
stranger
other
at
at
the
the end of the
bar.
day.
Well,
It is what it is.
The way I look at it is, for sports fans, you can have a Yankees fan and a Red Sox fan talking baseball, or a Cubs and Sox fan talking
Yeah.
baseball.
Sure.
And
Oh boy, you and Justin,
yes,
sports.
so you can be a Cubs fan, and I can sit with a Sox fan and
Because
not
I'm
hate the
not
guy
gonna-
because we're still talking baseball.
I think it comes
But
down to
it's-
just simply being cordial and understanding where everybody comes from. You know, to each their own is
Yeah.
what I like to think. You know, and
Absolutely.
I don't judge anybody for having the beliefs that they do, because I can understand why people have those beliefs and things like that. I choose to be where I am because of what I've learned.
Yeah.
But I also admit that I don't know what I don't know.
Right.
And I'm open to hearing. That's why
That's how we learn.
well, that's right. I would like to hear some more substance from Joe Biden. The problem is, I think that a lot of people relate to, is that Joe Biden comes off as just what Trump was saying in the last debate, very politician-y, to not use a
he
better
did
term.
actually use
Yeah.
that word, which
Yeah, you know,
Trumpism.
Yeah, hey,
well,
well.
I mean, he comes off
That's
as
how we
as
all
a-
talk.
You know, he's a career
Politician.
politician who just seems to be telling you what you want to hear, and people just want these people to deliver on their promises. And unfortunately, the Democratic track record has not been very good on delivering on their promises, and a lot of the minority communities are starting to see that. That's why I truly think that you will see the Latino, especially the Latino and possibly the black community vote, start to turn to the Republican side, specifically this year, because of what Trump has been doing for them and following through with his promises, unlike what the previous administration did.
So I want to get to you, Mom, over there for a second on this one, and that is, you know, we were talking about this a little bit off camera, me and Rob and stuff, but as far as, you know, you growing up, and why do you feel like you don't like a guy like Trump? What bothers you about a guy like Trump?
it's a loaded question.
Yeah, and just get
There's
into
a lot
any of
there.
it. I mean,
There's a lot
it's
there.
you don't have to tell me but
Right.
I know there's a couple of things that I already know
He's a
that
Neanderthal.
he's a Neanderthal. Okay,
he is
so
that older white male who, when he was growing up, women were suppressed. Women were suppressed as he was building his businesses. All right? And he wasn't always choosing women for their knowledge. Let's be real.
yeah,
I mean, there is a track record there.
he does tell people how
I
good-looking
don't
or
feel
bad-looking
like
they are.
Trump
Pretty.
has
Well, he
a
said
lot-
it's a
upfront.
Rand Paul himself. He said there's a lot of
I don't
subject
feel
matter
like Trump
there.
has a lot
Yeah.
of respect for women in any powerful position.
Yeah, and I feel like
don't
you've said
and it's kind of an old school thing. It is. It's
Yeah.
that generation.
it is, and that's what's unfortunate.
I watched
is
my
that-
grandparents. I watched your grandparents. I watched my grandma waited on my He went to work. She stayed home. It's that mentality. That was the role.
I think Donald Trump is much more. He's way more concerned about what's profitable for his business than he is about if you have tits or not.
That's a great point.
I don't think
That's
there's
an
any
aggressive
point
point,
where
but
he
that's
has
a great
a
point.
man and woman sitting in front of him for the same job,
I think
and he
that Trump
says
knows and
a
believes
woman's not
that sex
capable.
sells, and he's right. It
No,
does.
I think capability sells
but
more.
I think we
he
need to
believes
come
that.
away from that a little bit.
Let him finish his point, though. I mean, because basically what you're saying is just that he's basically looking at it as, what is the best option here? I don't care if you're a man, woman, female, black, white, anything else. It's
Yeah, I
just,
think he hires the best person for the job.
Well,
Yeah.
Why is
but
it
think
successful?
about, think about it like this: you got the CEO of GM, and he's looking at this resume, and it says, "Wow, this guy can save us $250K a year on taxes. This guy is brilliant. Oh my gosh, wow!" But oh my God, he's a black man.
Yeah, it doesn't
And
make
that's
sense.
the only thing that's going to deter him from hiring that guy. People who are only worried about their bottom line, they don't care if you got tits. They don't care if you're
That's not
black,
true.
you're white, you're yellow, purple, whatever it may be. If you have the ability to provide for that company in a positive way, I would assume, or at least I would hope so, that a CEO or whoever it may be is
You would
willing
hope
to.
so.
Yeah, I would hope so. Is willing to hire you
Yeah.
based off of your performance abilities, regardless of your skin color or your physical attributes. I mean, when it comes to TV, they say Fox News is biased because they hire all these beautiful women and things things like that. But how can you blame a company who has people on TV 24/7? You don't want an ugly,
You're not gonna have an
Not
ugly
about
guy out
TV,
there either.
though.
You're not
yeah,
gonna,
I mean, but even the guys, I'm not a homosexual, but I to each their own. But even the guys on Fox News are pretty attractive themselves a little bit.
Everyone that's
This man
these talking
said
heads.
that
Go.
if his daughter wasn't his daughter,
He would date her.
date her. That's fucking disgusting.
No,
It's a weird comment.
You
It's a
have
weird
a daughter.
comment.
You
It's a
would
weird
ever say that about Olivia?
No, but a guy like him thinks in a way like this, is that he thought he was giving his daughter a compliment
Yes, he
because
did.
he thinks that his standards
But
are so
that's
high
where
that
he's
he
not
would even date his
representing
daughter.
me
That's,
then.
No.
that's how beautiful she
My
is in his
sister's
mind.
beautiful.
I'm saying
I
that-
would.
That's
I envy
My-
any guy who gets with my sister,
my-
who falls in love with my
You
sister.
Change that
My-
gets with, didn't
No,
you?
no, it's true. My
saying-
sister, you're lucky
You
to be
know
with
what
my
I'm
sister.
saying,
If you
though.
get with my sister, you're lucky to be with my sister because she's
I'm saying
gorgeous,
it-
she's smart,
Yeah.
and she is a
That's
talented
fine.
woman.
Let me cut in. If you hear Donald Trump say that, and your brain goes to he's a pervert, it's because you want to really
Michael.
fucking
There
hate
you
him.
go. Oh,
That's-
there you
it's-
go. I mean,
why?
that says
It's
more
because
about
you
you than
really want
Trump.
to hate him.
That's right.
You really want to dislike
No,
him if you
that's-
take
It
that.
is it is a weird comment. It's
No,
not
but-
like a normal guy that I
Wait a
usually
minute.
talk
I
to.
agree.
Michael,
Nobody
you're
I
talking
know.
about
I agree.
one comment
I-
out of
I
thousands
agree.
of
Name
comments.
All right, hang on.
Any of the other
The
thousands.
things he said against women like Rosie O'Donnell, and
Yeah, 'cause
I
she's a
know you
pig.
don't like her, doesn't
She
fucking
sucks.
matter.
He doesn't like her.
The woman that he said something about her menstrual cycle, and I mean, these quotes are all online. Go look them all up. I cannot
I
read
hate
them
that. I
all.
laughed at him
You
a
know what
million
I'm
times.
talking
It's
about.
funny.
Darlene.
But that's disgusting in
Darlene,
your position.
Darlene,
you
here-
want
It
to
is.
be
In
a
his position,
business
it is.
owner?
He's not a politician. He's not a
He
politician.
was a private business owner. He is
It's
now
still
the
not.
president
He's a
of the United
billionaire. He's a
States.
billionaire.
I know,
but
but-
he's now our president.
Yeah, but Darlene,
It's
Listeners-
different.
One thing.
listeners,
All right, hang on.
One thing about Donald Trump
comment
is that
on what you guys think.
Yes, sir.
Everybody who's watching just comment on what you
Oh,
think. If
what-
this is disgusting or not. What Donald Trump said.
It-
We'll let the comments. We'll see what people say in the
Darlene-
comments.
Oh, gotcha.
I agree.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
agree.
yeah.
Yes, to each their own. To
Yeah.
each their own.
One thing I've noticed about Donald Trump is that he's an equal opportunity abuser,
There you go.
Yes.
and he'll shit on you no matter what you look like or what
That isn't
That's
true.
a
gender
great
you are.
point.
No, it's absolutely true.
No, it's
Democrat,
very true.
Republican,
Calling
man or
Sleepy
woman,
Joe,
black or
he's
white.
a white guy.
I mean,
he's calling people women. He's making names for. He's
if you
making names
attack-
for
Calling
everyone.
Sleepy Joe
If
and
you- if-
Gretchen Bitchmer and
Yeah,
everybody else
if
those
you-
things
if you attack
because
Donald-
he feels
Dar-
inferior
No,
to
Darlene,
them.
Darlene, it's
No, I
because
think he thinks it's funny.
no, Darlene,
No, he
Darlene,
doesn't.
Okay, hang on. Let Mike go.
That's a defense
let
mechanism.
Darlene, Mike go, though.
It's because they said that he was a white supremacist for 3.5 fucking years.
That's
not.
exactly when he
No, I'm
condemned
saying
them over
you're-
and over.
you're-
Yeah.
when somebody attacks the leader, you want the leader just to fucking eat it. That's not the fucking leader I want. If somebody shits on you and it's not true, you should be able to say it's not true.
I'm sorry, in a professional position, and I'm not the leader of this country, I am not. If my employee does some stupid shit or says some stupid shit, I'm gonna handle that in a tactful way. I am not going
you don't
to
like his tact?
lower myself to their level. How do I win? By lowering myself to their level?
Yeah, but it's
No,
not your-
I
no,
fucking
but it's
don't.
not your employee,
I go
though.
high.
It's not your employee. It's
I go high. When
we're
you
talking
go
about a rival
low, I don't
business.
go low. You go high.
I
And
agree
that's
with that,
the
though.
point.
I agree with that, though. And I feel
You
like
look
the president,
like a fool.
he's already won
No,
it.
you,
He's
you,
already
you
at
think he
that.
looks like a fool.
Many people think he looks
I-
like a fool, and that's my
And
opinion.
that's fine. If somebody looking like a fool because you want to misinterpret what they say in a way
I'm
you
not
want to say.
misinterpreting. These
No, I'm not
are
saying.
his
I'm not saying you.
words.
I'm saying if you want to take what he said about his daughter, for example, because you brought it up. If you think that's him being a pervert and saying he wants to fuck his kid, that says more about you than it does
I
about
did
him.
not say that.
No.
That's why you
That
think. That's
was
why you.
the-
That's
put
why you
words in her
insinuated.
mouth,
it.
but
Yeah, she didn't say that. She just said it's an
I
awkward
did
thing to
not
say,
say
and
that.
I agree that
But
it's
you
an
were
awkward
insinuating
thing to
Don
say.
Love it.
People, especially Trump, how many times do we hear
Is that Chris
Creepy
Cuomo
Joe?
over there?
How many times do you hear
Well, 'cause-
Creepy
'cause
Joe?
Joe Biden-
Hang on, let her talk. Let her talk. Let her talk.
Because there's a montage of him patting girls' heads
And their chest
reaching-
and kissing them and
He's
shit. It's
not
weird.
grabbing their boobs, Mike. He's
Come
really-
on.
I watched it.
It's creepy.
As awkward
Not
as
gonna
Trump,
lie.
I'm admitting that that's
It's
Trump
creepy.
thing
It's the weirdest
too.
thing.
But if you
All right, go.
can, if
Let her
you
go.
can agree that that's creepy, how can you not agree
No.
that what he said
No,
about his
no,
daughter is
because-
creepy?
no,
That's creepy.
Same thing.
Biden touching
All
kids creepy. They're both creepy.
all
in my
creepy.
mind.
I can tell you why, because I care more about the intent of what somebody says than what I want
Well,
their intent.
Again,
can I add to
yes,
that?
go.
Can I
Cody,
take a
hey-
mo- Can I take a moment to add to that?
No, you're good. I was actually worried at one point when you're talking normally that I wasn't going to catch. But anyways, let's get Cody go.
So what I'm getting to, what I'm getting from that is that the accusations on people. So when a lot of people say Trump is a racist, okay, you're calling somebody a racist, which is a very big
No coming back from that.
accusation
No
on
coming
somebody.
back from that.
So you would allow him, I mean, in the court of law, you're able to defend yourself.
Yeah.
When you're accused of something, you defend yourself. So Trump is racist, and he comes back, and he combats that, and he says, I'm not because of this and because of that. But, oh, no. Everyone just assumes that Trump is racist for some reason. And not to mention, remember Justice Kavanaugh, during his hearings, they claimed, at one point, they claimed that he was a, what was it? Not a group. I forget the exact term, but a gang rapist. Okay,
Yeah.
so when somebody is accused of something so beyond, you have to allow them the opportunity to refute those accusations, and that's where it comes from. Trump is this, and Trump said that all Mexicans are rapists. All it takes is one simple lookup on YouTube or Google to find the video of the entire conversation that he had to show that that's untrue.
Like the two people on both sides, the five people on both sides thing.
It's not fair to accuse somebody of something that way and not allow them to rebut that. And that's, I mean,
the one thing I'd like to say though is that for years before Trump ever got in office, everyone has always shortened up statements in the media to make politicians look bad. That's just like the oldest trick in the book. That's not just happening to Trump. But the thing I wanted to get at, though, was the fact that I feel like it's fine that he's defending himself. I think he should, too. I want a strong guy. I don't want you to sit back and say, I'm just going to take these allegations, but you don't need to name call people.
Right.
Why are you doing that? I think it's hilarious. I do think some of it's funny. And I think it's funny because that's how me and my buddies talk.
Exactly.
And we make nicknames for people and we laugh at it.
Yeah, but you're not.
But you're exactly right. I am not the president of the United States. He's above. He should be above that. He's not. I could deal with it. And I'm,
I also want.
This is an unpopular thing. I'm not voting.
Saying, Cody,
as of right now.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, I just know for a fact that if Donald Trump walks into any room in any capital on the planet Earth with any leader, he cucks to none of them.
He what?
Cucks.
He will cuck to nobody.
Basically backing off.
I also wanted to add to that is that,
he just
that's
owns the
not
room.
always good though.
No, it's
not always good.
In the position from world leadership, you want to run the room. You watch the video of him with Kim Jong-un.
You want to have
the guy's looking at him
control.
like he's looking at Santa Claus.
Who gives a
You can't
shit
believe
if
he's talking.
friends with
Well,
Kim Jong-un?
remember, do you guys remember
about how people perceive you?
I'm saying a
Right.
nuclear adversary.
good.
We think it's bad for the president to have a good relationship with him. It doesn't make any sense.
Look up how many world leaders actually like Trump. Look that up.
It's not about how many like him, how many respect him.
they don't
all
like
respect
him, and that's what's
Hang on,
good.
No, they all
They don't
respect him.
respect him.
They might not get along with him.
They don't
but
respect him.
And what's the evidence they don't respect
I
him?
was going to say, that seems like a little
I've
hearsay.
researched it, and that's the hard thing about these conversations is all you got to do is start researching this stuff.
Yeah.
And I guess the whole point of that statement that we started with is most people, and I do this from experience, I've had many of these conversations with people I don't know, people from all sides, right? But they don't even know what they're voting for.
Agreed.
They know one or two things.
Because they vote
like
based upon
America.
Emotion, that's right.
Yep,
It's
exactly.
personality
and
over
that's,
policy.
But you got to do character and policy. It's got to be both.
mix.
But
people who run companies, you got to have. It's your character that's gonna
there's
help
a
your
chime in?
business
Yeah, please.
grow or
Can I
fail.
Can I chime in?
Go for it.
Yeah.
So I had 2 points to that. Is when you said that a lot of other world leaders don't like Trump. That is the greatest sign to me.
Respect.
I don't want Putin, liking Trump. I don't want Kim
respect.
Jong-un.
I corrected myself.
Or,
She did. Okay, so she had respect for
right.
it, yeah.
Right. Well, I would hope that they respect him because they know that if they F with Trump, they're going to get a retaliation. When it was under Obama, he was funneling barrels of cash to Iran, made an Iranian deal with them that said that they weren't going to produce any type of nuclear weapons and gave them barrels of cash. And they put all of that barrels of cash towards producing nuclear weapons.
But he sang Amazing Grace at a church, and it sounded pretty cool.
But the thing, what about the video? Look up the video of Hillary Clinton when she was Secretary of State going up to Putin, excuse me.
Thank you.
And yeah, sorry, Putin.
I thought you were doing it for like some
Right.
inflection because you were making fun of like
Putin. Yeah, that was my
Putin
fault.
or.
and pressing the reset button. She's up with Putin, and she says, let's press the reset button. And Putin's looking at her like, what the are you talking about?
Yeah.
Because they don't respect Obama. And not to mention, look up the video where Obama, under his mic, he's on a hot mic with Putin, and he goes, after the election, I'm going to have more flexibility to work with you. So they didn't respect Obama, or they didn't fear or like Obama, whatever it was. They liked Obama because they could get whatever they want from him. They fear Trump. They don't like. I want them not to like Trump. And then the other point that I wanted to add is with the presidency. Like, if somebody's running for the presidency, you expect them to have a certain type of character or
Yes.
a certain type of, moral value to themselves. But the demeanor, there you go, thank you. But the thing is that Trump got voted in. I think one of the major factors is specifically because he doesn't have that. People
Because he was different.
Because he was
He
different.
sounded like someone new.
He's not a robot.
Yes.
He's not a career politician. He will speak the way he believes, which may get him in trouble, but it
Yeah.
won't get him in trouble with the silent majority of America, which is those people, the laborers in Oklahoma, the laborers in Ohio, the people
Yeah.
in the Rust Belt who want to keep their jobs and their communities. They see their communities going to shit when Obama put all these restrictions on fracking and
said
all
all the
these
manufacturing
companies,
overseas
and
and-
they
yeah.
can't. These small businesses cannot grow because there's all this red tape from the Obama administration. When Trump got in, it was a 20-2 ratio for all the regulations. He was cutting 20 regulations for every 2 regulations he was putting in. That was the biggest problem. And now I can understand how people will argue that, hey, we need those regulations for controlling the climate and things like that. But listen, if you don't have oil and fossil fuels manufacturing things, you are not going to be able to compete with China or Russia or anything like that.
competing.
Yeah,
It's
so
about,
I'm done. I'll let
I was gonna say
somebody
let
else
Mike
get
go,
into it.
and then I know she's hot right now
Please,
too.
somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you though.
Just-
That's good. That's good.
yeah,
That's good
besides
stuff
the
here.
oil thing, it's not really about competing. It's about you can't sustain a society worth living in without
With what?
Can't
fossil
sustain a
fuels.
society worth living in
it's
without
also
it.
true. You can't compete with China, who is their plan is to be a world power. They don't give a shit about us. They want.
They already are a world power, though.
That's
I mean,
right.
they are already.
Well, Trump has put what is it called tariffs on them.
Yes.
Because they weren't in the Paris Accord. They
Oh, yeah.
weren't supposed to kick in until what, like 2 years later
No,
or
they
something.
don't.
And we have to pay
China,
and pay and pay. And
the problem with
China's
the climate accord is China had to do nothing.
yeah.
Okay,
Just-
so before we
No,
get off
but-
track
sorry,
here, before we get off
real
track,
quick, I'm
I
sorry.
know she wants to
let me finish.
go.
Yes.
But because you brought up like the way people look at what the president's supposed to be.
Right.
We have this mental model that we're all kind of shoved in our throat.
It's kind of like a
through school
JFK kind of
of
thing.
like how you sound, what you look
Yeah.
like, the way you do all of it.
Yeah.
And when you break the mental model, people say he's not presidential.
That's right.
He's
Yeah,
not acting presidential.
I get that.
But by definition, whatever he does is presidential. You just don't like that version of it.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's
I,
not
get,
about-
I like that.
I'm
That's a
saying
good point.
when the
Doesn't
president
mean
does something,
He is
it
the
is presidential by definition. So
Yeah.
Right.
No,
that's,
it's-
that's the word I've always hated.
He just hasn't acted like a lot of the other guys, which were career politicians.
Which,
That's
got,
exactly
which are the same
right.
guys that put us in a spot where everybody's fucking mad.
Yeah.
Right.
Because 2016, it was
Sure.
everybody is mad about something, and we want an outsider. We want somebody that's
That's
not.
exactly
and then
how
you get an
I feel like he
outsider.
got
That's the
and then
reason
the-
he got
but-
elected,
but-
and I mentioned
but
that.
what's worse than if you have an outsider you don't like, you say he's a neo-Nazi, and you compare him to
name
Hitler all
call.
the time.
I
Right.
and
agree.
crap
I
and
agree.
shit.
So let's go to my mother though. Here.
Please, yes.
I just, my thoughts are this. So I voted for Obama. You said you voted for Obama.
So did I.
Did you?
I did not vote before 2016. I'm younger. I'm
Oh,
26
okay.
years
Yeah,
old,
younger.
so I have to put
So-
that out there.
I was asked this question recently by a Trump supporter in a bar, and I don't know the guy. Great conversation.
Yeah.
But he asked me, did I vote for Obama? I told him yes. He said, why? My immediate response, he said, was it because he was black? I said, yeah.
Some of it.
And then,
Fortunately.
and then we got interrupted, and I didn't see him the rest of the night. Well, then a couple nights later, I see him again. I said, I've been thinking about our conversation.
Yeah.
Let me clarify. Yes, I voted for Obama partially
Right.
because he's black.
I wanted to be part of history. I wanted to be part
no,
of
That's
right.
the
no,
generation that elected a
no.
president.
Sure.
I did.
It's
I'm
not.
saying I did. But-
Partially part about being, whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
It was more so, our government is supposed to represent
The people.
the people, right?
Yes.
And we are a diverse people.
That's right. We're a melting pot.
So
Yeah.
in my mind, like you said, you got to break that mold, that mental mold, right?
Yeah.
Or the mold. You got to break the mold to have progress.
Yeah.
So yeah, part of me was like, we've had the white guy our whole lives, the
True,
old
sure,
white guy.
sure.
Can we stop having the old white guy?
Yeah.
And let's get someone new in there.
But it's
So
got-
let's get the
it-
younger black guy.
But it's got it is kind of funny how-
But he's
was gonna say-
representing people that vote. We all know minorities voted
But-
for Obama.
The one thing I do like. Sorry, I cut you off. Go finish your.
Because and so what happens here in my mind, you look at society, and I've said this forever, the generation of white males in my age were left behind. We forgot about a whole generation of white males. because the guys I know, they didn't get the opportunities at that time because all of a sudden we're trying to give more opportunities to minorities
Affirmative
and women.
action. Affirmative action.
But listen,
what
so
affirmative-
these
Let her
guys
finish, let
get
her
left
finish.
behind. And for lack of a better way to describe it, this is how I do it in my head. All these white guys of my generation are hanging out at the bar after work, bitching and moaning. They don't have a lot of opportunity. Trump comes along. Trump is them.
Yes.
That is why they voted for him. That is why we have this uprising of people of that base, because that's the base that is now left behind. We got more diverse. We started all these programs. We gave all these opportunities.
Yeah.
More women have businesses. More minorities have businesses. And guess what? Big old group of people over here going, what the fuck about us now?
Yeah.
Well, I think a
Because
lot
you
of it, too,
always
is
had it.
You,
Yeah.
you look at stuff like
That's the argument.
And I'm 32, and we've actually never had it, actually.
White males always has. So,
Yeah.
But now you guys and the men of my generation, and now hopefully, but that's why all of a sudden I say in my mental picture, I do this all the time, it was this pouring out of all the deep, dark taverns after work.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
but he got elected, and they all came out of the fucking
The
woodwork.
silent majority.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, I'm saying it's.
That's who he represents, and that's why this is happening. However,
I think
with
yeah.
Obama,
Let her finish it.
we said, fuck. I voted for him. Maybe I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
You know,
That's how I
maybe
felt.
maybe I didn't take into
Well, and-
consideration all the things I should have.
Yeah.
And
when I
and
voted.
I think that's what when.
But that's why I didn't vote for Hillary.
Then-
I
Yeah.
wasn't about to make that mistake again,
Again, exactly.
and just vote for a woman.
Yes.
you.
So
Not
go,
doing it.
Yeah.
go with Mike here.
The problem is it's when you talk about the white guys being left behind or whatever. I look at it more as you decide to take the least important characteristic about somebody.
The
Yes.
least what?
The least important characteristic about somebody.
Yes.
The race,
Characteristics.
their
And
race,
And then you
their
turn
skin
that
color.
into like a thing of merit. It doesn't
Right?
have
That's
anything to do
exactly
with it.
right.
Yes,
So-
we're equal.
And actually, and sorry,
Yeah,
finish your
so
thing, because I,
I-
want Cody to
or
say something he said
gender,
off screen.
Mike,
But go
gender.
for yours.
So it comes. I hear people on the left, especially, talk about how America's racist as an institution, always has been. All this stuff about white
Systemic
privilege, and
institutional
slavery, and stuff.
racism, yeah.
Which is one thing I know is that go anywhere else in the world and find somebody. Go to the Middle East and find somebody that looks like me in their Congress. or in
Yeah.
their government.
Yeah.
We live in the best place ever, and the thing I think the reason I think Donald Trump's going to win is because it doesn't matter what you look like. If you work harder than the next guy, you will get
That's
the
right.
things you work hard for.
People
That's right.
overseas still believe in the American dream.
So when you hear Donald Trump saying the American dream is here, you come here, you work hard, you'll get it.
Yes.
The other side says, well, if you're black, you're fucked. So take this shit. Take this.
It's a victim. It's a
we're sorry.
victimhood
We
mentality.
take responsibility
Yeah.
for what? I didn't do shit.
Yeah.
I've never done anything to anybody.
So
So it's like
you said something about diversity.
The sins
off
of our
camera.
ancestors somehow.
Yeah,
are
exactly.
Being, we're
I
paying for it.
totally
That makes
agree.
sense.
I don't feel some shame because
Right.
I've never
You
treated
shouldn't,
anybody.
but no.
I never treat
So-
anybody of any color any different way.
On that, so
My whole life
so
I've
on
treated
that,
everyone the same way.
So on that exact point, the problem is it's been turned and told to me, preached to me that, like if I'm white and I walk into a store and there's a black guy there, I have this bias.
That's
that
what I
have,
told
this implicit
Justin.
bias I have. But the problem is I know that they're told that I have this bias.
Yep.
Yes.
So it's
Yep.
it's like a chicken or the egg thing. So what is the origin for this unrest that we have now?
Yeah.
And nobody wants to answer the question. They just want to say slavery, fucked up. You're white. I'm black.
Right,
reparations.
right,
It's like
right,
what do you
right.
do?
Reparations, yeah.
No, he's just he's
No, I know, I
exaggerating,
love
but
it, I
yes.
love
It's
it,
like
I love
it just we're talking about something so nuanced, and
Yeah.
to just say that
Yeah.
if you're white, you've had your run. What the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah, right.
All right, Cody, what were you saying? You talked about
But-
diversity
but-
earlier. I love this little quote you had.
So
We were talking about, oh yeah, you need diversity. We
we
need
were
to
talking
have
about
companies
diversity and
with-
how that's important in everyday things, whether it be
Yes.
companies, government, or whatever it may be. But what's important to specify is that diversity of thought is what you need, not diversity of skin color
Or gender.
diversity
Yeah.
of gender or anything like that. And unfortunately, it seems that in
Yeah.
the past, white males have been the best people with the diversity of thought or the best ideas of producing the best outcome for the people. That's why you see white males as the majority of
Ooh,
bill
that's a
makers
bold
or
statement.
Well,
lawmakers. or
I was
anything
saying,
like that.
are you saying you believe this, or you think that that's what was told?
I partially believe that, but I partially both to what you're saying is that Diversity of thought is what's important. So if you have a boardroom, if you're Johnson and Johnson, right, and you're saying there's a bunch of white men in your CEO boardroom that you're deciding things on, you need more diversity. Okay, that's great, right? So, but if you start to tell me that I need to have 3 African Americans and 2 women and then 5 males in there, and they
could all be closed-minded people.
Yeah.
They could all have a personality that is not good for creativeness or anything else.
Well,
That's right. But you have to match these certain and Hollywood.
Guidelines.
Hollywood is doing this now.
They had
You will not
quotas
be
20 years
qualified for an
ago.
Oscar unless you have this. Unless you check off this box list of different genders or different races, and that's the problem. Is
Cody-
when you start talking about races and gender, that's not the problem. It's the thought process.
And just exactly what you're
Cody.
saying. Just jump in
Yeah.
1 second. Just
Yeah.
what it is.
Okay, so then how do we, if quotas wasn't the answer,
Sure.
how do you, and I hate to say force,
Sure.
but then how do you invoke that change?
I
if-
appreciate
Well,
that.
I
I like
hey
that.
guys,
And you
guys,
know what?
Hey
That's
guys,
a better
we're,
answer.
gonna, we're gonna have to come back to that one.
Okay,
Okay,
absolutely.
yeah.
I
I
think
hate
that's a
to
good
cut you
point to
off.
end
I
on.
hate to cut you off. This is a good one.
getting
Yeah.
But let's. I don't know who's coming back, so let's wrap it up here.
Sure.
Mike, thank you for your time. I don't know if you're going to be able to stick around for the next segment.
around,
We'll be
Mike.
able to get you in and out.
Fuck. I mean, it's.
What do you
Yeah,
got to do?
no,
What do you
it's
got to do?
Mike,
Mike,
so-
Forget about it.
So let's see what we got.
That
We're
was
coming
for
back for
Sammy.
another
Yeah, we'll come
segment. We'll come back for a couple more. We'll see you in a second. And we're back. We got another segment here for you. Mike had to leave, but we got Al back on. Al's been on a couple episodes for us, so thank you so much for jumping in.
Yay.
And I know Al is very social or very active on social media as well. And the reason I kind of wanted Al on is because I feel like, to give you a little compliment here, Al, is I feel like you're good at looking at it from both sides and at
Yes.
least taking emotion out of the conversation and just looking at the facts and giving people that are arguing with you on Facebook like, this is how it is. This is what I'm saying. I'm not attacking anyone. This is exactly what I'm trying to do. And I feel like you explained it in a good way that it's, like your biases don't really come out as
I
much
agree.
as other
Awesome.
people's.
Awesome.
Well, I very much appreciate that, and
Oh, pop him on.
who buys these with a switch? No, I try to be very fair, and I try to not get excited about these kinds of things because it's very easy to fall into the trap of media and political bias because they manipulate you through your emotions. If they can make you fear something, or if they can make you feel like these people are going to take something away from you or give something to some people that you don't want or any, possible combination of the three things, it's a lot easier for them to get you to gloss over the horrible
facts.
effing things that they're all doing at the same time.
Yeah.
And
one thing that I've been saying for a while, and I've really been saying it since, the Obama campaign in 08, was that I didn't feel like, and it kind of goes back to what we're saying, is a lot of people, vote upon emotion. And what I said when Obama got elected, and I said it again when Trump got elected in 2016, was that it's not about what your stance is on anything is. It's the candidate who evokes the most emotion out of the American people.
Sure.
Because that's what Obama did in 08, and he was able to get by in 12 as well with the same kind of thing, but it was change. He was a black guy. It was something different. And then you get to 2016, and guess what? It's something different again. And it doesn't even need to be emotion positively. It's emotion in any way. If you can make people feel emotional about you, that's the key to victory, in my mind, in this day and age. Because I do feel like less and less people actually care about
Policy.
what the policies are and where they stand on it, because we both realize, or all of us realize, that in a two-party system, you're not going to line up line by line with somebody ever.
Right.
So it's more so based like, how do I feel about this guy? And it's whoever is evoking the most emotion.
Sure.
Is,
I agree with that.
and Mom, again, I kind of like your stance on some of this stuff because, you don't got to say who you're voting for. I know that it's kind of still up in the air,
It
stuff like
is.
that. But at the end of the day, I know that you kind of like to vote Libertarian. I know that you're interested in Joe Jorgensen.
I am.
And people like this. And, people have told you, oh, you're wasting your vote. You're going to vote for Joe Jorgensen, you're wasting your vote. How do you feel about that?
My brother told me that this morning, as a matter of fact.
Pull that mic just a little bit closer.
I just, I try to think about that. Am I wasting my vote, people? Like, I don't.
I hope you don't
like
feel
I
that
am.
way.
I feel like if I feel good about my vote, because it's my vote, right?
Right.
It's my vote.
Yes.
So I cannot consciously. I don't feel like I can vote for someone, and I've evolved
Yeah.
over time, obviously. I just can't do it. I cannot vote for somebody that I don't feel should be the president of our country. I can't.
So my problem with
I
the election
cannot
right
do
now
it.
is that I don't think I'm actually, at this point in time, I still pretty sure I'm not voting. Because I can't, and I should probably
And
go out.
another
And
part
some
of
of
it
it's
is-
that I'm not educated enough on some
And
of
there
the
you
things
go.
that
And
aren't.
that's good. I
But I wanna
actually
just jump in and
people
say,
jump on you for not voting,
Yeah.
but
I'd rather have
almost would
educated
want-
voters.
I would rather have an informed voter than
Someone's gonna go in and go,
ill-informed
I saw a bunch of
voters.
stuff on Facebook that said good things about Trump, so I'm just
Oh,
going to
dude,
vote for
you
Trump.
have to take the
yeah,
time.
take the time.
And it's like anything
And I
else.
haven't.
You want to learn something new? Guess what? It doesn't come easy.
Yeah, you gotta
You've got
research
to
it.
put in the time and the effort for something you care about.
And one thing
if you don't care about the country you live in,
Yeah.
then that's a problem.
And the one thing I would say is what we're trying to do with this episode was hopefully, if not sway any votes or get people to vote,
Inform.
just inform people and say, if you are feeling like me and you're feeling like, you're not going to vote, you're not going to do anything, it's even making me feel, hearing you guys talk, that I need to go do a little bit of research. I need to make a decision one way or another, and I need to go out there and do, give, at least take advantage of the right that is given to me to vote. But,
Go ahead.
and sorry, Cody, go.
Well, I think it was the point of it, and to your part, what you were saying is just to simply convey that it's possible to have a cordial conversation
Yes.
Yeah.
amongst people who have a difference of opinion, and to be able to
Find some middle ground. is
found
what we're
some
hoping.
middle ground, and I think we can all agree
Without
that
insulting one another.
that's right, and I think we can all agree
don't
that
demean me.
that's right. And I think like at least for me, I can personally admit that I don't know everything.
No one
maybe
does.
maybe
No
some
one does.
people know more than I do in terms of statistics and numbers
Or
and things
history
like that.
of
but-
politics and
different
stuff.
subjects,
And
different
I-
policies.
That's right. And I'm basing a lot of what I say off of what I have read or what I've been told and things like that.
Yeah.
And therefore, because of that, I'm open to hearing the other side. That's one of the reasons I wish that the Democrats were able to put somebody on stage, or as their front runner who was able to portray, more in more of a substance factor what they're going to do in against or to compare against what Trump has already been doing. Mike Pence said on the debate against Kamala Harris that Trump or their goal to fight against coronavirus, whatever it was, sounds a lot like plagiarism, which is something that Joe Biden knows a lot about. And if you look back in the 1994 Trump, that's where
does
that
Melania,
Biden, that's where that
by
comes
the
into play.
way.
But the thing is that when it comes to the pandemic specifically, is what are you going to do differently than Trump has already done? And I'm open to hearing what the Democrats have to say.
His big thing
Yeah.
was because we were waiting for it. We were waiting for his answer because Trump actually never gave an answer on that. What are you going
Right.
to do moving forward? We were waiting on it. He said what he'd done in the past. And then the only thing Biden said, though, was he goes, I want a national mask mandate, and I want
Which
a
is-
national mandate on how schools get to
and
reopen.
ramp up testing,
and
he said.
and basically what I was saying, though, to her is like, okay, that's great. We would all like to know how to open these schools,
False
but like,
private- yeah.
tell me how.
Right.
Give me some detail.
Yeah, right.
That's right.
Well,
Get to see, we're going to open all the schools, and we're going to make sure to open them all up.
That's the same middle
So
school
how?
birthday
Where's the
cake
money coming
How?
from? Where-
argument,
yeah.
If you vote for
Yeah.
me, I'm going to have birthday cake on the lunch menu. That's the same
How are you
thing,
doing that?
know?
Well,
Right.
it has the same problem that most federal laws do in that you're trying to fit a one-size solution to the dynamics and eccentricities of 50 different states that have
Yes.
drastically different populations and
Yeah.
issues and problems.
Cost of
That's
living,
Right, yeah.
job
So-
opportunities. I live it. I've
I-
lived the difference now.
Well, there's, I mean, and I don't know what it is today because I heard this statistic like a week ago, but there were 3 states where they had not had a single COVID death of a person under the age of 18. So tell me why those 3 states
I don't think we have.
need to have
In the UP.
some type of, restrictions on schools.
So if,
I think a lot of it's
if
the
you don't mind me
teachers.
interrupting,
I think a lot of it's the staff. but-
Well, I mean,
I wanted to ask you, if you don't mind me interrupting, I wanted to ask you is that do you believe in more power to the states and allowing them to decide what regulations are best?
your local elections and local municipalities are generally the most well-equipped to deal with the problems of their locality, if by no other reason than they're actually there to hear the problems of the people that live there.
Sure.
Like, it's real easy for a Washington politician to jet set into somewhere in the middle of the country for a half hour and talk to like 25 or 30 people that are cherry picked by the party to ask them questions.
That's right. My
Yeah.
God, the undecided
That's a smart
voters.
comment.
That's right.
It's
Yeah.
a lot more
Thank you.
difficult for someone to actually live somewhere and be accessible to the constituency that they are representing.
Right.
One thing I would like to say too, that my older brother Joe had said something that made me feel a little bit better about the democracy that we live in, is that you were talking about how is your one
Representative
vote,
republic.
Is your it's fine. You were saying how you felt your vote, my one vote's not going to do anything, blah blah blah, and a lot of people have that idea. But at the end of the day, if you want to feel like you're making a difference, go vote in local elections. Go vote on local things.
That's exactly right.
Because
That's what I was
how
gonna
you
get
can
to.
actually make a change in your own community.
You start small.
Exactly.
Because politics is
And you
overwhelming.
can see
Let's
that
all agree.
change. You might be able to go
Politics
get,
is overwhelming.
Yeah, you might be able to go get that 100 people that
Yeah.
to go vote a certain way on something.
Right.
You could personally be the reason
Yes.
and I think
absolutely.
I think that's
Absolutely.
if you want to feel like you're making a difference, go do something on the local level.
That's
You know,
right. I
Hey,
agree
we got
with you.
Ron.
Go make
We
your
got
vote on
Ron
the
Paul in the
presidential
St.
election,
Patrick's Day parade, did we not?
Yeah, we did.
You got to clean up your own things first.
Yes.
Like
Jordan
Agreed.
Peterson. Jordan
Agreed.
Peterson.
Agreed.
if people put as much effort into just dealing with local issues as they did getting into arguments and fights with their friends and family about the office of the presidency that ultimately is going to mean very little to nothing of their lifestyle,
Right.
you could probably accomplish a lot more
Yes.
than just alienating yourself from your friends and family over minor differences in thought process or whatever the hell. Like,
I think that what that speaks to is you're talking about a Republican mindset. I think is what maybe unintentionally is what you're getting to. And please interrupt me if I'm wrong. But the thing is that my parents or my friends will ask me, I don't know what I am. I don't know if I'm a Republican or a Democrat. And I like to give them very simple things that they can base themselves off of. I say, if you believe that states should have more power than the entire government itself, you're Republican. If you believe in lower taxes than higher taxes to regular people,
You're bucketing them.
Republican. And it sounds like what you're talking about is more power to the states to be able to
Regulate
set
themselves.
in law the restrictions or lack of restrictions based upon where they live. For example, Virginia wouldn't have the same restrictions that New York might have. But if you give it to a federal level to decide upon the actions for each state, that's where you run into problems, because New York, because then you have that socialist mindset to where the government has the ability to tell every state how to behave, but Republicans believe that the states have the ability to enact how the states should behave. And that's kind of what it boils down to, I believe, for people who aren't educated a lot on the policies is, am I Republican or am I Democrat? Well, you could base that off of basically about 3, 4, or 5 simple things.
But why do you have to be either?
And that was what I was going to say.
Well,
is actually,
unfortunately, you have to
No,
in
you
our
don't.
democratic
No, you
process.
do not.
You move to the UK, and then you can vote for 8 different. Then you can vote for 8 different parties. But unfortunately,
You don't
in
have to vote
America,
the party
we
line.
have 2 people or maybe 3 that you can vote upon. And you have to vote upon which one aligns the most with your values or morals
you don't,
or
have
beliefs.
to, but again, that's why she's getting told that her vote doesn't matter, because she might go vote for an independent or somebody that's not on the main 2 tickets. And the issue is, and I think the only way to get above that is then to educate people on what the Libertarian Party does believe in. I was asking it off camera, how do you describe the Libertarian Party? And I think Rob said fiscally conservative and socially liberal, which is a mix of the two. And some people out there will feel like they're in between, but they have no idea what libertarian means.
They don't know what that is. So they might actually...
Because the party doesn't have enough money to educate the people.
is
That's
sad. I agree
it's all
with
about
that.
the money.
Well,
I
but
agree,
they're
funding
also
and stuff like that.
super
Yeah.
PACs.
they're
Go
also
ahead.
shoved out of the national platform, number one. And
Yep.
on the other end of it is people believe that the Ayn Randy capitalist end of the Libertarian Party is inherently racist, so they're smearing them with that like a ton of people are tending to throw around these days,
Name
which
calling,
is
that's
something
right.
that I find to be repugnant about the political process at this point, because if you're not a racist or a Nazi, you're a Marxist or a tree
socialist
hugger or a
or- yeah.
socialist
Right,
or
I know.
some
Stop
other
bucketing everybody. You're
Mijigas
bucketing
or
people. I hate
God
it.
knows what. Like, and you don't need to be that ugly with people. Like, you know, at the end of it all,
But this is my. But this.
We're all
is
still
my-
living
does
here.
it make?
But
Yeah.
this
also
is
live in
my
the same-
biggest
Yeah.
point. This is my biggest point, right? This is the thing about Trump that drives me insane. Your statement that you just said is what he's doing. Right? He's
elaborate.
name calling. He's insulting. That is not.
And he's driven
just said-
his opposition to his level, and that
Right.
shows me enough about their character
my
to not
goodness.
want
No,
anything to do with them
seriously.
either.
But excuse me,
And-
you're claiming
let's go,
he's
let's go.
driven his opposition to do that. So it's his fault that the opposition, which are the Democrats, are calling him xenophobic for putting a ban on China earlier than anybody else would have agreed with, and that he's being called racist because they say that he said that Mexicans are rapists, which is not true. Also with Charlottesville, they said that
Let's
Trump
just
said
slow
that there's
down
good
for a
people on
second.
both sides.
Man,
When if you
let
show
him
the
go, let
full,
him go.
if you show the full clip, he says that neo-Nazis and white supremacists, they should be condemned totally. But there are good people on both sides. So that's what bothers me, is that what, and I don't want to get against anybody, but you just said that it was almost his fault that the opposition is name calling him.
well, I think
and when you get in an argument with somebody and they start to name call, they call you racist, xenophobic, like Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi called Trump xenophobic for shutting down China as early as he did. When you get into name calling, the argument is already over, because it only comes down to you're racist. And if you saw Nancy Pelosi with Wolf Blitzer on CNN about 2 weeks ago.
Well, Wolf busted her a little bit.
Wolf Blitzer.
Wolf busted her up a little bit.
Well, he did, and she said to Wolf Blitzer, I don't know why you're always an apologist for the Republicans. She switched it to name calling to him, and he didn't bite, and that's what threw her off. She says you're an apologist. Other Democrats say to Trump, you're a racist, you're xenophobic. All they switch to is this name calling that has no basis for what they're claiming, these large accusations like we talked about previously. You call somebody a racist, I say, Justin, you look like a pedophile, you rape children. How much of that is an accusation upon you? And now I put the burden on you to have
Let's
to
just clarify.
refute
Let's
that
just clarify.
statement.
You're not calling me that.
No.
Okay.
I am not calling him. No, he's interacted with my
Let's just make that-
stepdaughter. He's fantastic. Okay, I take that back.
Let's just make a
but
very
Right,
clear-
Al.
but what I'm getting to is when you accuse somebody of those statements and you label them as these things, it's completely unfair, and it ruins
it is.
your ability to argue facts and policy against them. Trump, you're a racist. You said that Mexicans are rapists and drug dealers. He didn't say that. He said some of them coming across the border are, and that's true. But they categorize him as these blatant.
Well, when
These
you
things-
Like
All right, let's
he's-
go.
whoa,
Let's let
whoa.
Al go. Let's
Please,
let Al
somebody
go.
else.
When
Go
you-
ahead.
Go. Okay, go.
Yes.
Like Trump is categorizing blue states. You don't think people should be categorized, but he's categorizing blue states.
Right.
How
Yes.
many times have you heard him do that? But you're saying we shouldn't do that.
Right.
But that's what he does.
It's a good point. It's a good point.
Sure.
He's
that's
dividing
good.
us
Yes,
that way.
Yes, please.
How do I put this? When you talk about 20 plus years of bumper sticker politics and the parties attempting to swing from one extreme to the other every time that there is a shift in the control of the seats of power in Washington, like all the parties want to do is tear down what the previous administration from the other party did.
Yeah.
And we put ourselves in a situation where our federal government has no long-term plans, there's no long-term stability, and we're competing with foreign nations that, albeit dictatorial, they have long-term plans and ambitions because they're dictatorial, and somebody gets to lay out the next 20 to 30 years of policy. So already we're coming from behind.
Yeah.
Now they set it up to infight with ourselves as much as possible because everybody's attempting to gain the slightest political edge that will enable them to control the houses of Congress and the office of the presidency so that they can push whatever agenda they see fit. Which, okay, is sort of what they're elected to do. However, the people who are actually backing the candidates and the things that they want to do aren't necessarily any good for the American people and the body politic as a whole.
Are you claiming that that's for both sides?
100%.
That the Republicans also have people. It sounds like what you're
100%.
talking about is the elites. You think
Mass
that the Republicans
corruption.
are
Yes.
the Republicans are, and are you claiming that Donald Trump is only in the presidency to help the elites of the country? Is that what you're saying?
I am not 100% claiming that because Donald Trump himself is an oddity in that his own party did not want him in the first place.
But that's right.
But through the mechanisms of the Republican Party, it's much easier for an outside candidate to secure the nomination for the office of the presidency than it is for a Democrat candidate.
Right.
That's
I
just
agree
the way
with
the rules
that.
work.
Yeah.
So via game theory, this guy got in and is doing whatever the hell he can to do to raise hell or do whatever he wanted to do in the first
You think
place.
that's his goal? Is to raise hell
Needs
amongst
to
the
change a lot of
American
things.
people?
No, I
He
don't think
said he wanted to drain the swamp. That means he
Right.
wants to take a lot of people out of the game that have been in the game.
Right.
So from their
is
perspective,
better.
I think
beneficial to the
I
American
think you're
people.
taking raise
But he
hell as
might
if he's
be.
trying to fuck shit up. He's not necessarily trying to go in there. From what you're saying, I don't think he's trying to purposely go in there and ruin the country.
Right.
By fuck shit up, we don't mean ruin the country and drive the country into a pit. But he's saying you want to fuck shit up or raise hell by changing the game, get people out that
To
have
be
been in it
more
forever
beneficial
and come back in.
to the
I think,
average
am I-
American
well,
voter.
I mean,
How
maybe it
beneficial?
is, maybe it isn't. I'm not clairvoyant enough to know what happens in the mind of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
But what I can say is that the amount of people who have been in and around Washington politics for decades who hate the guy would be indicative of something of the nature of him doing things that irritate them, which may or may not be a good thing.
Right.
But, you know, I don't really know. The status quo clearly hasn't gotten us any more unified.
Yeah.
Like, you know, people keep driving the wedges.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe there is something to it. Maybe there is a deeper cabal or a lot more corruption than people realize that needs to be brought to the surface.
Oh, maybe,
you know,
maybe.
So, hang on, real quick though, I want to get to. We got to change
But
the
you'll never
little
know.
gears here, and we hopefully some point we do know. But I understand what you're saying, and
I mean,
we probably
that's how-
won't.
That's how
Probably
they
won't.
got rid of Nixon.
Yeah.
He was looking for dirt.
Yep. I was just telling my mom I was kind of going
Yeah,
into a
we're-
little bit of the Watergate through the
He
night.
was.
But so real quick, we got to go to some questions,
You got
some
a
viewer
lawyer or
questions.
something.
Yes.
So we got a good one here, and I
Oh,
think this
wow.
is a funny one. I think it makes it a little lighter.
From who?
Tom Schwartz, thank you for your
Oh.
question.
Oh, of course.
He says, "I want an over/under bet on if Biden wins, how long before he's deemed medically unfit and they replace him with Harris." He says 1 year of his election. Mom, I want to start with you on that one. Do you think that that's even a thing? Do you think that Biden, if he was to get elected, I know you're not a Biden supporter, not necessarily, but how long do you think he would stay in office? Do you even think that's a thing?
I think that people would like to think that that's a thing.
Okay.
I don't know.
If you were a gambling woman,
and
you're
I'm
gonna say,
not, and
is
I'm
he gonna
not.
make it? Is he gonna make it through 4 years, or is he not gonna make it through 4 years?
I personally don't see any reason why he wouldn't make it through 4 years. With,
don't think they're gonna
with
try
a
to-
strong administration?
Okay.
Okay,
All right, I'll believe
it's
you with
all
that.
about who you surround yourself with, right?
Absolutely, and I think that that's a strong statement.
And I
mean,
think if he's smart, he doesn't take a lot of the burden on himself, given his age
Yeah.
and
Well,
whatever.
Find a way to delegate.
Listen, I'm a
That's
delegator.
right.
I'm
That's
all about
right.
delegating.
presidents are freaking
I am the
figureheads
delegation
at the end of the
master.
day anyway.
So, but it is. It's who you surround yourself with. And listen, you don't want to do all the work. You are one person. You're one opinion. You're one voice. You gotta. It's who you surround yourself with. So you do have to look at who you surround yourself with.
So you're
right?
saying he makes 4 full years
I
if he does
do.
get elected?
I do. I don't
Okay.
think there's some nefarious plan.
No, I don't think it's. It
Well,
might
I
not
mean,
be
it's kinda-
nefarious. But yeah.
If the whole sorry, pronounced it wrong. my point is, I don't think that that's the plan,
Okay.
and I think people think it's the plan. And maybe I'm wrong. I could be
And
wrong.
absolutely, that's why I'm asking your opinion. All right, Cody, let's go for it.
okay, so there is no chance in HE double hockey sticks that Biden would be out of the presidential status due to his mental capacity or his age, because he has the mainstream media as well as all of his administration behind him who is running the show. Joe Biden will do absolutely nothing in the Oval Office. It will be all the Democratic administration that he has running the show behind it. It's clear right now that Joe Biden is not the person that they want running as the front runner, but they use him because people can relate to him because he was under Barack Obama. So Joe Biden, everybody knows Joe Biden, so they're going to use him to be that person to put in front of all the American voters, but he's not going to decide a damn thing. Honestly, I don't think he has the capability to do anything in the Oval Office. I don't even know if he knows where the Oval Office is. That's arguable, okay? Because what you've seen from him in the past, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking. He doesn't know what state he's in sometimes, okay? So it's not him.
That's not
it's
true.
not, but hold on.
That's the
It's not him
insulting
who's
thing,
going to
though.
be making. It's not him. He's not going to be making decisions.
that's
It's
his
all the
opinion.
people
I mean,
who
it's
put
not-
him in front that are going to be making the decisions. So even if
These aren't
look at
facts.
that, look at the video of Hillary Clinton where she's walking down the stairs. She's walking out of that speech that she had, and she's being carried by people into the car. She's literally like this. Okay, I swear to God, that's gonna happen to Joe Biden, and they're gonna act like he's the healthiest guy in the whole world, and Trump's the one who's got a problem. Okay, they're gonna project. Freudian projection, they're going to project that Trump's the one who has a mental problem when it's clear that Joe Biden has the mental problem. So what bothers me is that he's a career politician who doesn't know what he's talking about. He is being fed these answers and these responses. That's why he has trouble pronunciating what he's saying in these debates, because he's following a script. Trump is not following a script. That's why he's so calm. But Joe Biden,
Maybe he needs a damn script.
Yeah, he doesn't. But
Don't
he
keep him
does.
going
No, he
here.
does.
We're trying-
I know
personally-
I'm coming off strongly, but
I was
Joe
gonna say.
Biden, he's not going. You will never have
Well,
Joe
honestly, all
Biden
you're
leaving the
doing is
presidency
insulting
because
him.
they will
You're not
always have
really-
people and the mainstream media to back him up that he is the top dog and better.
That's
he
what
is
the
the
mainstream
guy.
media
He's the
does it
best.
for
Okay,
Trump
hang on,
too.
hang on, yeah.
It goes both ways for the mainstream media.
No,
Don't-
it. Oh,
Well,
come
hell
on!
yes,
Look
it
up the
does.
statistics. They talk.
Please.
94% is positive things about Joe Biden. Not to mention the corruption with Ukraine and China, and the Hunter Biden emails that are coming up on the laptop that is verified by the Director of National Intelligence. That the laptop is not
False.
Russian disinformation that the mainstream media wants you to believe. I mean, this is all true. This is all happening. And we're about to have a president possibly who is taking money, funneling money through his family members who have no experience in the job that they are in. For example, Burisma with Hunter Biden. He's on the board of Burisma and getting almost $80,000 a month from them and funneling it to the big guy that they say in the email.
Yeah, because
This
Trump
is
has
all
none of that
bullshit.
going
All right,
on.
all right. Let's bring it back
Well,
down to
I'm
earth
done.
there.
I'm
I was
done.
gonna say,
Please.
I wish you were.
Anybody else?
I just wish I could get some emotion out of you.
I'm sorry. I
I'm so
apologize.
angry that you're so monotoned and so.
I love it when he got up.
Lack
that
of
was
emotion,
glad.
yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
So Al, what do you have to say about what this guy is saying here? What do you got to say?
Well, there's a couple things. One being political parties and the United States government have been hiding the physical condition of presidents for hundreds of
Easy,
years.
audience.
Nobody knew FDR had polio until he was dead, for the most part.
Yeah.
Nobody knew that Jack Kennedy and his brother were banging whores in the White House until after they were gone.
Well,
Yeah.
is this the guy
Right.
that crashed the car in the river and left the girl for dead, or is this
No.
a different
Oh.
of the JFK? I don't know. Okay.
Whoa.
What?
Man,
Well,
who?
back
You're talking
yourself
about Ted Kennedy, but that's okay.
Okay.
I was talking about Bobby and Jack, the good Kennedys. That's neither here nor there. The ultimate point is they weekended Bernie's fucking Ronald Reagan through his second term. If you don't think they can weekend Bernie's Joe Biden through a term, you're out of your effing mind.
And that was actually the question that we were
Yeah.
trying to get to was.
And we're
That
gonna
is
have
the
to
go last?
question.
And
Do
we're
you
gonna have
think
to come
he'll
back
last?
to that question.
Oh,
because
yeah.
we're out of
Unlike
time
the
on
debate,
that.
we want to actually answer the question.
Yeah, well, you did. He did. He was getting
no,
to it.
no, he did.
Yeah.
No, I'm
so
glad.
we'll be right back. We'll come back to some more questions here in just a second. And we're back for another fourth episode this just
Fourth
keeps
episode.
or fourth segment. Sorry, thank you.
That's all right.
But every episode, it just in the last 3, it just gets to a point where the panelists sitting down just they didn't get enough.
Right.
They just want to keep coming back for more.
Because this is why we're here. We wanna have these
Absolutely. Thank you
conversations.
for sitting here, and thank you guys for taking your time and sitting down here. What do we got? Oh, yeah, pull your mic in, Mom. Pull your mic in. You're way over there.
Hello.
Remember, this is all TV, Mom.
Forgot.
This is
I
TV magic.
forgot.
Right.
Hey, we need to hear you. So we're going to start off with a question because last time I was trying to get these in the last segment, and when you guys get going, it is very hard to get questions in. So let's just start with this one. And I haven't read this one yet, so it's very lengthy, so hopefully I can get through this. But Keith Allen, thank you, Keith, for your question. He said, I would like to know when it became fashionable to wish harm on people and celebrate death.
Thank you.
Speaking specifically on how Democrats cheer when Trump contracted COVID and how we're now cheering that Rush Limbaugh's cancer is terminal. He says, like, that is seriously fucked up.
Right.
Which I agree with, and I would like to start off by saying that isn't right. And I did think that there was like some jokes, like even on SNL, you watched it right after he got, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I don't hope for him to die, but I hope for a slow recovery." It's like that's kind of fucked up. I mean, that's kind of fucked up. We're
That's
wishing,
comedy, though. If we don't
it's
have fucked up comedy,
no,
we got nothing.
I get that. I love SNL. SNL, I think, actually sponsored one of our episodes at one point. I think I mentioned that in a previous episode. SNL sponsored us, actually.
What?
No, it's not true at all. No,
Oh,
absolutely not.
I was like, what?
No, they have not. They don't know anything about us.
They
But
should.
they will eventually. If we keep doing what we're doing, they will know what we're doing here on Bonfire Banter.
That's right.
But let's pose that question to you guys, though. Let's go, Cody. You're going to get in. I know that. Let's go, Al. Let's just start with you on this one, Al. So the question was, when did it become popular to wish death upon people?
Oh.
You know, I would still like to believe it isn't popular. I'm kind of the mindset that it's a nasty business to be in, and
Yes.
I don't buy into the politics of wishing people any harm. That said, you know, a
Was
lot
it
of
hilariously ironic that he got COVID?
I mean, in a way, maybe yes. I'm not going to dispute that
Karmic
it's.
comedy for sure.
I'm not going to dispute that it's not funny that he got COVID in its own sense. But
Yeah.
what I will say is that, you know, once again, applying game theory to politics has dehumanized it to the point where people don't look at Donald Trump or Rush Limbaugh as people. They look at them as players on the chessboard. And if you eliminate the most popular talk show host in America, who happens to be a conservative, by
Rush
via
Limbaugh.
him Rush Limbaugh, via him having cancer, you now don't have that piece on
Took
the
out a
game
rook.
board.
He took out a knight or something. Yes.
I mean, a queen almost.
Yeah, maybe
I mean,
that-
he
Out-
dictates policy. Let's not candy coat it. He says things, people believe it, and then they vote for politicians that also believe it.
Okay.
It's
that's
the
fair.
same as any other media outlet that has any sort of bias.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
if you deny that, you're lying to yourself
Yeah.
and probably falling prey to your own bias.
Yeah. And that's one thing I saw. I watched that thing on Netflix, The Social Dilemma.
Oh,
And
watch Social
one thing
Dilemma.
I thought was really interesting in there was, and Cody was obviously got passionate, which we all love. We're very thankful that you got passionate here, and we want you to continue to be passionate.
Thank you.
But what I was
More
going to
people
say
should
is
be
that
passionate.
you hear about on Social Dilemma, they're talking about, they go, you lean one side. Let's just say I'm this huge Trump guy, okay, and I'm clicking on all this stuff that's pro-Trump. Well, the algorithm of Facebook and social media in general is going to pump you like information. So then you go, oh, how didn't you know that Biden said that if you don't vote for me, you're not black? And I'd asked my mom that, and she's not a Biden supporter, but
True.
she hadn't even
did say that.
even heard that. She
Right.
didn't even know that was a thing. I go, how didn't you not know that? Because
it's
I've
not in
seen
my
it
feed.
everywhere. But because she's clicking on different things that I'm clicking, so I'm seeing all of
It is.
that Biden hate.
Yep.
But I'm not seeing their side, so I have to actively go out there and look at certain groups
Gunshots or
that leans
fireworks?
the other
What
way.
did we just hear there?
Oh, we saw.
Fireworks.
Oh, they did it because they
Oh,
heard we were
just
filming.
checking.
No, that was the city of Villa Park. We told them that we were filming right now, and that they were going to light off fireworks because they were
All
so
right,
excited
then.
about this episode. Yeah. No. Yeah, no, we're doing a flyover next week. Yeah, we're getting a flyover. Yeah, absolutely. But, that's kind of, I forgot where I was even saying there, but I don't know if you guys could refresh my memory where we're at before the firework thing came in, but
Well, no, you were. It seemed that you were trying to get at the fact that once you dive into the social media rabbit hole,
Yes.
you end up in your own echo chamber.
Yes,
And no
that's
one
a great way of
hears
describing
any
it.
ideas that they disagree with.
yes,
And
they're gonna
if
keep funneling you the information you want to see because their business is to keep you there as long as possible.
exactly.
Yes.
Let's also touch on the point that, we can't deny that the social media conglomerates, Google, YouTube, Facebook, have been suppressing information
Two of those
based
are the same
upon
company.
their own bias for the past 4 years since 2016. So you are looking at, whatever you're looking at is what they want you to look at specifically, okay? So if we're trying to look at pro-Trump things, for example, the Burisma.
Bureaucracy?
No.
Burisma.
Burisma from Ukraine.
Gotcha.
The
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
deal
Yeah.
with Hunter Biden is they're trying to suppress that on Twitter specifically, at least from what I've heard. I could be wrong, but from at least what I've heard on Twitter specifically, they're trying to suppress that.
No,
So
but-
they're trying to show you
They're not.
specifically what they want you to think. So
But
it's
I
not
think,
based
I think more so
upon-
they're trying to get these people fact checked. They're
Right.
trying to allow people.
Even Fox News wasn't able to confirm any sources.
Well, actually, the director of national intelligence said that the Hunter Biden laptop is, in fact, not Russian disinformation because CNN and MSNBC and NBC and ABC, they want you to think that this whole thing against Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and the Biden family is all Russian disinformation. And that's why you saw Trump on the debate say, wait, this is all Russia again? This is where we're going? Russia? You got to be kidding me. It's because they're claiming that the whole thing against Hunter Biden and the Biden family is Russian disinformation, which is a lie. And not to mention the whole Russia hoax that they had against Trump back when the House impeached him. That whole dossier, the Russian dossier, was paid for by the Clinton administration. So this all comes back to Freudian projection. What they are doing, they are literally projecting upon the Republican establishment as what they are doing. So they're saying the Republicans are colluding with the Russians, when in fact it is the Democrats who are colluding with the Russians. So they are projecting this upon the Republicans, and that's the same thing that's happening now. They are saying this disinformation that's coming from this laptop, or with the Biden family taking money from Ukraine or China, like Trump stated in the debate, is Russian disinformation. But the director of national intelligence came on Fox News, and you could say that Fox News is biased, but regardless, do you really think
Fox
that
News
the
is
director of intelligence, national intelligence, is going on Fox News and is literally carrying water for the Trump administration? I mean, if you claim that, that's your claim. I don't
And that's
believe that
maybe.
personally. But he's saying
not
that this
what's happening.
laptop
False.
that they obtained from Hunter Biden is not Russian disinformation.
All right, let me
So-
stop you there then.
Yes, please.
Because you're kind of going over. Yeah, I got you.
I'm going off script a little bit.
Not
yeah.
even that.
No,
it was more so I just felt like
I want you to go to Al.
I
on this
think
one.
we got your point here.
Sure.
And so, what do you think here, Al?
The real problem is that you're predetermined to believe your conclusion.
It's not mine.
Hang on, let him go.
Stop. And
Sure.
you're
But you said
predetermined
mine,
to
it's
believe
not
your
mine.
conclusion.
Well, you are coming to a conclusion on your
And
own.
But I didn't
Hang
say
on, let him go.
mine. No, I'm not going to let him say that it's mine. It's not
I give
mine.
a
Well, you just
fiddler's
said- you
flying
said-
fuck where your information comes from.
He's not insulting you. Listen
Okay,
to what
no,
he's saying.
I'm understanding.
know
I'm
what
listening.
you want to happen, right? And you know what you want.
So
to
I have
happen.
a predetermined outcome that I want to meet the
Partially,
standard?
we all do.
Okay.
Think
Everyone
about
does.
that.
Okay,
we
and
all
then,
do.
So, and there is,
Ooh.
and that
He's
is,
fine. Go on.
and that is mainly that don't worry about that off screen. We're not worried about that. We're just
I'm a
having
mom. I'm
fun.
worried.
We're having a fun audience time
what I
here.
do.
But at the end of the day,
Does Wayne Brady have to choke a bit?
he might have to. I mean, as the host here, I mean, at some point, I'll just dust him off and we'll figure it out. But what we're trying to get at, though, is you made a statement based on the things you're hearing, okay?
Right.
And that is fine, and we'll take that as your opinion. But he's trying to get out what he's saying, and I think what he's trying to say is that you're giving a point of view, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, what he's trying to say is that you have to look at all of the spectrums, and you're being fed a certain opinion.
Sure.
And that's kind of what I was getting at the social dilemma thing is it's easy to find like information if you're looking for it. It's easy to find information that's going to help
Agree with
your agreement.
Absolutely.
So
Or
what's the
your
opposition? I'm listening to
argument.
the opposition now. So
Yes,
go
absolutely.
ahead,
Let him go.
please.
Let him go.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm not really the
No,
opposition.
he's not
but
the opposition.
Oh,
the ultimate point being is that people who are pro-Trump want the Hunter Biden laptop to be the smoking
But
gun.
are you saying that that's not true, that the Hunter
I'm
Biden
not
laptop
saying it's
is
true
legit?
or isn't because I don't
Nobody
know. I've
can
never
prove
seen
But the
the fucking
director of
laptop.
national intelligence
No.
said that it is not. It is not Russian disinformation.
I want a
so-
congressional report.
Okay.
Okay,
Not
That's
just
what I
one
want.
guy saying it,
Not
basically?
just one guy.
Yeah,
I
because
want
again, he might be biased. He might have,
I want the information released to Congress. I
Okay.
want a congressional report. And if the Bidens are in fact involved in some sort of
Quid pro quo.
quid pro quo, nefarious dealings, however the hell you want to look at it,
Sure.
we need to address that as a serious problem. The same way as if there was tangible information of the current administration doing the same thing, we would need to address that as a serious
And
problem.
we had the impeachment process for that, right? Like
and,
you said.
and he didn't get impeached
And he, well,
They looked
he's
at it all.
impeached. I mean,
Well,
he's impeached.
I mean,
by the Senate.
In
Right.
the House.
No,
Right,
the
right.
House.
Sorry.
Not
But
the
listen,
Senate, the
but-
House.
But Cody, the,
let's not get lost in the
And
minutia.
let him
Okay.
figure. Yeah.
They had nothing to begin with, and they've been pushing any sort of Russian collusion based off of information that was obtained via the Clinton campaign and vetted by people who were sympathetic to their cause in the
Right.
intelligence community,
Right.
which you're going to have on both sides. You know, everybody knows what happened with Jimmy Carter and George Bush and the CIA.
Tell me more. About
Cody
that
may
real
not.
quick.
I don't.
Yeah.
Actually.
He's young.
I
Give us a
don't.
little
you gotta
background on
remember
that.
you're
really
a
quick.
different age, and I am.
George Bush negotiated a backdoor deal through the CIA to end a hostage situation that was going on with the Iranians at the time that Jimmy Carter was president. Jimmy Carter famously sent a special operations mission to try to free these hostages. The whole thing went tits up. He looked like a fucking clown, but he didn't have to do it in the first place because the talks were already in, but because there were political machinations involved between the people who were running the CIA and their people that they were friendly with politically, who were going to be the opposition to Carter, never approached Carter with what would become the deal to get the hostages back.
Gotcha.
So, in a lot of ways, George Bush stole his first election. And this is partially where the term October surprise comes from, because he, dropped the fact that he had been able to work this deal in a time span where Carter would not be able to do anything about it. Not that he could in the first place,
Yeah.
he didn't have the contacts, right? So what it ultimately comes down to is you can't 100% trust the intelligence community either, because they work for their own machinations that are completely removed from the body politic in the first place. There's a reason that over 60 cents on the dollar of your tax dollars to the federal government go to the Pentagon, and a large part of that gets buried into dark projects and the FBI and the CIA.
Really? Okay.
These are the people who we're supposed to trust generationally to shepherd the country beyond the administrations, and if they're inherently corrupt, it doesn't matter who you elect, they're going to continue to be inherently corrupt. And they've proven time and again that they're willing to use their sphere of influence and their a good word and reputation to support candidates that they want, regardless of whether it's the thing that they should or shouldn't be doing in the first place.
I want to clarify something you said, too, because you said October surprise.
Yeah.
And I was told that was when you give kids at Halloween edibles.
Oh. Well,
Okay.
that
No,
would
oh
be
no,
a-
it's not. No, is that
that would
did I
be
hear
a
that
little
wrong?
bit different
Oh,
kind
no.
of October surprise.
That's false. I just made that up. But if don't do that, guys. That's
No,
not
you don't
not
wanna
a
do
cool
that.
October surprise. Don't ever, nobody do that.
He regrets
All right.
that 2 years ago. He
No,
regrets
I'm
that.
sorry.
So, yeah.
I made a
Yeah,
mistake.
He's speaking from
I made a
personal
mistake.
experience. Yeah, right.
Just to clarify, I did not give any kids edibles. That's
An
just
October surprise.
Okay, Mom, I know that, Cody was saying some things, and you were feeling a little weird about that a second ago, as far as he was getting on Biden as saying, or, the Democratic Party, as far as saying, attacking Trump and calling him certain names and name callings and things like that. How do you feel about that? Do you think the Democratic Party is doing that purposely? Do you think that they've tanked the economy to hurt his chances, or how do you view
First
that?
of all, they didn't tank the economy. COVID happened.
Yes.
And nobody planned for that, and the Democrats didn't make that happen, so
Right.
that's a moot point. Like, that's not even.
And I kind of would agree. I would agree
And-
that.
and here,
well,
we
I would agree
talked
that
about this
COVID's a
earlier.
thing that
Let me
came
say
up and
this.
no one knew about
This
it.
is a thought I had earlier when we were discussing things.
Yeah.
I lost my train of thought.
Like
See,
I was
hate it
saying,
when
though,
that happens.
Well, I was saying, though, that, I think that there is some of that going on. I think that they want to make this look worse than it really is.
Oh, sorry. Here is my point.
Go
I
on.
do this.
Yeah,
I'm
go.
old. I don't think that anyone who isn't a Trump supporter is going, oh, look at him. He sucks. He tanked the economy. We all know what's happening right
Yes.
now. It's COVID.
I hope that, right? Yeah.
We're
like
not idiots.
Yeah.
We don't think that
We know-
Trump tanked the economy. We don't. We have brains, most of us.
Yeah. And
I
they like
have
to keep
common
saying
sense.
that. And they like to keep saying
But
that. Like
think
Trump,
about
yeah.
what you're saying. Come on, do you really look at me and think that I think Trump tanked it? No, I don't. I know what's happening.
Well, did you ask me that?
No, I'm
Oh,
saying.
okay. Oh, in general.
I'm saying.
In general.
We were in a discussion earlier where I wanted to talk about this because
Right.
you had made the point that everybody thinks he tanked the economy. They're saying he tanked. No,
Actually,
no
that,
one's
that was
saying
not
that.
my point.
No,
that
it was that
people
the Democrats.
believe,
The Democrats are doing this to make it look like he has his economy was at the top. That was maybe his biggest argument in running and saying, I have had the best economy, this and that.
Yeah.
But that when COVID comes out, the Democrats are exacerbating this whole thing and making it a bigger deal than it really is, so that it does hurt the economy.
But
So-
Democrats aren't exacerbating the whole
well,
thing. I
but
mean, you
that's
have
arguable.
scientists.
Why did the
It's
Michigan
not just the
governor
Democrat.
do unconstitutional,
Stop.
defined by the?
Stop. This is why this drives me nuts, and I don't mean to. I'm
Sure, no,
sorry
go
to
on.
cut
Take
you
it.
off.
Please go on. Go
But
on.
again, things I haven't touched on because I'm really trying to be subdued here and
Sure.
let people
Go,
talk.
go.
Sure.
But I live in that state. It's split. And again, the UP should be its own damn state because you've got the whole UP calling her Governor Bitchmer. And, again, stop it with that bullshit.
I want to hear what you think about Gretchen
But-
Whitmer, though. And
all I'm saying is I get to live there, and I also still have my whole family here, and I've lived here. And I hear you guys talking about Pritzker.
Mm-hmm.
And I say to myself, what was different between Cuomo, Pritzker, Gretchen Whitmer? Again, cities typically are Democratic, right?
Typically, yes, they are.
Why
Typically.
is she a Nazi? And why, by the way, I'm saying people call her that is what I'm saying.
Who called
Oh my
her a
God!
Nazi?
But trust
People
me, I
call her
live there.
Nazis. That's
I
just-
live there.
that's
You
just-
don't.
yeah.
Yeah,
People
they're
say stuff
terrible.
about her,
They
yeah.
hate her.
But-
In the UP, they hate her.
there's signs
Yeah,
all over the place.
because
Be-
she unconstitutionally
Nope,
put
didn't-
restrictions on the
What?
entire Michigan community and shut down their businesses and their right to make
Did
money
Pritzker
to
do that?
provide for their family.
Did
Pritzker
Pritzker
did-
do that?
Pritzker did the
Did
same
Cuomo
thing.
do
Pritzker
that?
did the same
Did
thing.
Nevada do
Well, we're
that?
not talking about them. We're talking about her.
No, stop.
Yeah,
No, I know,
My
but-
point is, what does she do different than
It's the
any
same.
other governor?
It's the same.
But
yeah.
it's
She
not.
did nothing
but
different.
The
She
problem is it's not.
unconstitutionally-
Let Al go ahead.
Then
Let Al go.
everyone did.
Let Al
Then
go.
But
everyone
it's
did.
not everyone.
How is it
it's
different?
mostly Democrat governors.
But
is the
we
problem.
did this on Facebook because, and he wasn't in the discussion earlier, because this is what we started on Facebook. My feeling is, and we went back and forth, big cities they're more diverse. So they're going to vote
I'm not-
Democratic.
I'm not
And then
di-
you
I'm
came
not-
back with that good point, though.
I'm not disagreeing.
You said,
that.
but then isn't it the opposite?
Well, look at it this way.
They're democratically run and they still have issues. That
There's-
was
Yeah,
your point.
Which is a good point. And
Yep.
let him go.
and have been for generations.
Right.
But beyond that, if you look at the Illinois election map from 2016. Hillary Clinton won the state of Illinois handily.
Just in Chicago. Just in Cook County, basically.
5 counties.
Yeah.
Out of over 50.
Yes.
So,
which is a travesty because all these people in southern Illinois and they're owning farms and stuff like that, they never have a voice in Illinois.
Right.
No.
They never have a voice in Illinois.
Well, and you want to wonder why certain people are getting upset because you have one half of it that feels like their voice isn't heard because it's being overshadowed by
a city.
City
that has nothing to do with them. They live their life in a completely different way.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
And then you have the city half that feel like their voice is being overpowered by the country states that are helping to elect Republicans to the House of Representatives and the Senate and the office of the presidency.
Because Trump lost all those big cities and he still won.
Yeah.
And he lost the popular vote and he still won.
Right.
So, and again, and that
then
happened.
Then you go to the electoral college argument. It's like, I don't know how to fix the system, guys.
Well,
I just know that the definition of
no
insanity
fix.
is doing the same thing and expecting a different
Do
result.
you want to know how I think you fix it?
We're all
do you want to
insane.
know how I feel like you fix this? And this is honestly my little soapbox here, and it's never going to
Go
happen
for it,
because
moderator.
money is the root of all evil, and it's the reason why it's a two-party system. The hope I have for my daughter and people that are younger than us is that social media will allow a system where maybe there is an independent that wins. Maybe there is somebody that's not in a two-party system. And we, a lot of people, and
We're all tired of it.
I will quote Tupac here, and he said that he wanted to live until the day he saw a black president. And guess what? We did that. He saw it faster than we thought we did. I have this feeling that I might never see a third-party person get elected.
Ooh, I don't believe that.
I have this negative opinion of it that I don't think I'll ever see it, and I hope my daughter sees it. I hope other people see it.
You'll see
but it could end up happening quicker than I think if the right person runs independent. You need the right candidate. It's not that they
you
can't
need money.
win. Well, I know, but the right candidate
and a
with
national
money,
stage.
a guy like
right
a guy like Elon Musk. I'm not saying I'd love him or I want to vote for him, but I'm saying a guy like that could run independent and have the amount of money to do it. It takes the right perfect
Trump
person.
could have run independent, but he wouldn't have won unless he decided upon a
I
party.
agree.
You won't win unless you decide upon a
and
party.
I hope it's not that way forever. That's
why do you want an independent to win?
Because I don't want it to be a two-party system. Because again,
because
all of us
the
Americans
definition of insanity is
doing the same exact thing over and over
and
again.
expecting a different
Trump
result.
is not doing the same thing that people have done in the past.
No, but he is still sitting in a party though.
He's dividing us.
And it's just again, it becomes most people that I know, at least, and I can't say everybody, most people I know aren't voting for Biden. They're voting against Trump.
Right.
And I don't know the whole population. I don't know all these people that super love Biden, so I'm not saying that there aren't those people out there.
Why do they vote against Trump, though?
Because they don't like him. But what I'm trying to say is that instead of, if there was a third person in there, that person could potentially win an election like this because there is a big Trump support. There's a lot of people that love Trump, but there's not a lot of people that love Biden. So if there was some independent candidate that was there that had the money to run and that was charismatic and had all these qualities we're all looking for, they could potentially win. But it takes the right person. It takes
so
the
if
right
you
person
haven't voted
to
yet,
break that
write
two-party
in
system.
Justin Peacock on your ballot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will run. I'll do my best. I'll do my damnedest to be fair. And I will say right now, I'm a candidate for the 2020 election. Write me in. I'll be honored to take that office. Thank you so much. And Wu-Tang. Wu-Tang.
Wu-Tang.
They're going to be. Yeah. So, Al, I feel like you have something to say.
Well, I think a lot of this really comes back to the point of the disingenuous nature of the political party from the left that would like to point at Europe as to how we should
run things.
Generally try to tilt ourselves more towards a European model, except the only thing they don't want us to do is embrace ranked choice voting or a parliamentary style election system like our European brothers have, because that would negate some of their power base. And it's part of the stranglehold of, the two-headed serpent or the twin Santa Clauses or however the hell you want to look at that.
Al, please. Do you know what, Justin, Cody, have you heard of ranked choice voting?
No.
I have. And I kind of like the idea.
Okay, so can you elaborate
Explain.
on that?
I want Al to, because He said
The
it.
gist
yeah.
of ranked choice voting
like
is you go, I like this guy the most, I like this guy the second, I like this person the third. Or
Well,
not-
that's how
Wait, let
that's,
it
that's,
finish.
that only
There's
works
more.
on-
and then
There's more.
Hang on, give me a second. Rob,
But the gist of it is, if that person that you voted for first doesn't have enough to win, they take your second vote.
Yes.
And if that person has enough to win, that's the person that wins.
I like
but
that.
If
So you're still getting something you
But you
want.
need to have several parties in order to do that.
yes.
But we should have several
Yes.
parties.
I
Like,
agree that there should
how
maybe be more than two
fucking
parties. I
absurd
agree.
is it for
Come
us to realize to think that there's two parties that represent all of us.
Yeah.
There's a third of the voting age population doesn't vote.
yes. That's a
Like,
problem.
Justin
That's
Jordan.
a serious problem.
It's a
The serious problem. I know it's a
huge
problem. And I'm
problem.
not voting, and I think it's a problem. But again, I'm sitting here as an American voter saying, I feel so in between, and not even in between. I would rather see Trump win. I'm not worried about saying it, but there's certain things about him and his personality that I can't feel
Get
good about
behind.
going
well, yeah,
to
you'd
go
be
vote
you'd
for him.
feel smarmy doing it, and
I
that's
kinda
okay.
do, and
but
it makes it feel weird.
But here's
So-
the thing: is if everybody like you
Yeah.
went and voted for Mickey Mouse would be the fucking president.
Yes, I agree. I kind of feel that that's
Because-
how Donald Trump got elected.
But that's how the
I honestly do, and I think he'll win off of merit now. I think he'll win off his record now. But I think he won off of being Mickey Mouse on that 2016 election. Because no one thought he was going to beat Ted Cruz. No one thought he was going to beat all these Republicans in primaries. No one thought he was going to beat these guys. And then they're like, oh, shit, he's getting traction. Why is he getting traction? How is he getting traction? Because he's different, because he's somebody else.
Because they forgot about a segment of the population. Like I
Yes,
said before,
yes.
we forgot about that male between 20 and 50.
Yeah.
We forgot about him.
No, I kind of
well,
agree.
We
But
did.
He's not saying
Yes
the
and
bad
no,
things.
though.
He's saying more so like we kept saying like diversity, all these things, but no one was talking to.
Yeah, but-
like I didn't do anything wrong. Like there
balderdash.
is.
You know how Trump won? White suburban women.
Oh, no.
That's what he's saying
Oh,
is
yeah.
he's lacking
that,
on
that
now.
is a
Oh, yeah.
factor. That is not the reason.
had
it's
the
silent
majority of white suburban
He
women
won
in the last
Florida.
election.
He won Florida, which is a huge swing state, which is which has been in the past
They went
Democratic.
blue in Obama
So-
years.
so-
They went blue in
Yeah,
Obama
but
years.
I mean, the thing is that the only reason the Democratic Party is talking about abolishing the Electoral College is because they lost on that basis. Do you really
Twice,
think?
I
Do you really
believe.
think that the Democratic Party would even be talking about abolishing the Electoral College
won that way.
won?
If they won
No,
that way, yeah.
they're only talking
I
about
agree with
that
that.
because that is a way for them to win in the future because
Yes.
they realize that they lost.
They can
if,
win the
if
popular
they
vote, but
abolish
they
the
also-
Electoral College, they can win off of California, Illinois,
And
New
New
York alone. But that's
Almost,
the reason
almost.
we have the
That's a good
Electoral
point, though.
College so that
No,
you
it is. I
can't
don't
win
want to- I'm
off of California, Illinois, and New York alone.
Okay, you can't just abolish the electoral. I mean,
That's what they talked about was abolishing the
course, people
Electoral
talk about
College.
it. time.
People have said
But-
go
but
straight
listen,
up off the
that's-
popular vote.
But that's a knee-jerk reaction, is what
A
that is.
knee-jerk
All right, our
reaction.
director needs to say
Yeah.
something here.
Try-
What do you got?
saying abolishing the electoral college is a knee-jerk reaction to
I'm not gonna.
to
I'm
them
sorry.
losing.
That is the mainstream media. They have portrayed that off of
I'm
what
on your side on
off
this
of
one,
what
guys. I'm on your
prominent
side.
prominent
She's with
Democrats
you.
in
I'm
Congress have
agreeing
said.
with
I know,
All right,
but
all right.
Kick
Hey,
your chair out.
what do we got?
Kick your chair out. Just jump into that fire, brother. You're feeling it.
So what do you
Hey,
guys say here, Rob?
Hey, so this has been great, but we got to cut it off here.
We're running
okay.
out. All right.
Yep. So thank you,
Listen,
everybody.
Obviously, here's one thing: is that there is more left to be said. Have these conversations with your family. Sit down, talk about it. Don't be nervous about having a different opinion than someone in your family or at your workplace or anything else like that. If you have a differing opinion, listen to
Yeah,
them.
we
Have
all
an
hug each
educated
other after
conversation.
and
Right,
every break. We're all
right.
hugging.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So-
and that's the point. Is listen, we have so much more in common than we do different.
Yes.
Sit down with your friends and family and talk about these things,
Yep.
and you'll all realize that, and we'll realize there are more good people in this
Are all
country than
basic
there are bad.
needs and
And
wants
no
are the
race,
same.
every
They
race
are.
and everything like that. There's more good people in this country than there is bad people.
Yep.
There's more
Right.
people that feel like us than there aren't.
Yep.
So
Right.
Thank you,
thank
guys.
you guys to. I want to say thank you to M&L Productions. I want to say thank you to More Brewery.
yes.
Al, can you please plug your own company for a second here?
Well, thank Intelligent Lighting Creations for our gel supply.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And we'll say Great American Exteriors.
Hey,
We've been enriching and enhancing
Bookkeepers.com.
neighborhoods since 1897.
Bookkeepers.com. Work from home.
1986.
Work from home, bookkeepers.com.
18.
We'll be seeing you soon. Thank you so much. This is Bonfire Banter signing out. Keep stoking those fires, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming out.
Thank you.
Good night.